All right, we're here for a very special episode, the top 10 of 1982. As we did last year with 81, we have the same gang back together. First up is Troy Howarth, who's done numerous commentaries and wrote numerous books on people like Umberto Lenzi, Lucio Fulci, Dario Argento. How's it going, Troy?
Good, good. How are you?
I'm good. Next up, we have Nathaniel Thompson, who's also done a bunch of commentaries, Mondo Digital, a bunch of stuff here. How's it going, Nathaniel?
I've written a book about any directors, so Troy, you win.
Next up, we have Bruce Holecheck, who used to run the blog spot Cinema Arcania and has done numerous commentaries and contributed to many DVD special features and Blu-ray special features. How's it going, Bruce?
Not too bad. Happy to be here to talk about the Academy's recognized best film of 1982, Chariots of Fire.
All right, that's right. 3.5 hours of Chariots of Fire. I am the only runner here, so... But anyways, let's go here. Then next up, we have our editor of Ultraviolet Magazine, also contributor to numerous commentaries, and he does a bunch of panels, in, tons of conventions and all that. How's it going, Art?
Very happy to be here. I, too, will be whistling the Chariots of Fire theme song throughout.
We've all decided... Oh, go ahead, Bruce.
I was going to say, that theme song was everywhere when we were kids.
Speaking of
1982, in the year of 1982,
song.
It was impossible to get past that theme song. It was everywhere. I've never actually seen the movie, but I've heard the song a million times.
So we decided collectively that we're only going to do number 10 through 2, considering everybody knows what the greatest movie of 1982 is, so we don't need to waste time doing an entire top 10. Right, guys?
Sure.
Yeah, all right. So
Art has literally been waiting for this episode since 1982 started. It's like, I talk to Art all the time, and literally every time he's like, I can't wait for our 1982 top 10.
To be fair, I rewatched a couple so that I wanted to make sure I wasn't wrong. And I'm not.
All right. We're going to start with Troy. So, Troy, what is your number 10?
Well, the one I picked after a lot of deliberation because I was going to go with a movie that we talked about, but decided that I wanted to try a title that I don't think is going to be on anybody else's list. A movie that came very close to being essentially a lost movie, although it was all over the place on the USA Network back in the 80s. It's a British film called The Appointment, starring Edward Woodward. It's technically made for British TV. Only had a VHS release back in the day. It essentially just disappeared from view. I remember seeing it on the Saturday Nightmares program back in the day, and I don't want to give away too much for people who haven't seen it, but there's a gag in the film involving a seatbelt, which put me off wearing seatbelts for many years, which is probably not what they intended to do, but there you go. It stars Edward Woodward, who was in The Wicker Man, of course, and a couple years before he did The Equalizer, which is probably my favorite show of all time. So yeah, it's a really interesting little film that has finally been rescued and put out by BFI.
Yeah, great pick. I didn't see the film until the BFI Blu-ray came out. It honestly wasn't even on my radar, so I missed it as a kid on USA. But yeah, really, really cool, underseen movie. Great pick. Not on my list, but great pick.
Yeah,
it really is it's a tremendous movie, and it's still, I think, is way underseen, and definitely something to check out for those who have not.
Ditto. Great film. Then Nathaniel, your number 10?
It shows just how hard this list is, because depending on my mood, this could go anywhere from number 10 to number 1. Also depending on the time of day that it is. But this is a film that we actually have talked about. My number 10 is Pieces. I don't know what else I could say about this we haven't said already. So I'm sure it's on someone else's list.
It is definitely on someone else's list. Then we're going to hop to Bruce Holecheck for his number 10.
So my number 10, which I'm going to be surprised if it's on anyone else's list, because it was kind of a bit of a wild card. But again, these are top 10 favorites, not necessarily the top 10 best films in 1982. But I picked Boarding House. Was that on anyone else's list? So I'm alone on this island. So Boarding House is a really kind of weird... I guess ostensibly it's sort of a haunted house movie. This banana hammock wearing gigolo sort of moves into he buys this house and invites a bunch of women to come live with him for super cheap rent, and someone starts murdering people off. It was one of the very first shot-on-video films that played theatrically. I think the first shot-on-video horror film that played theatrically. But it basically is a vanity project for its director, John Wintergate, who also wrote the film in typical Paul Naschy fashion, where he manages to bed most of the leading ladies. So he wrote it, he produced it, he stars in 2 roles in it, and it's basically just it's this weird sort of hangout film. It's not so much plot driven as it's sort of just scene driven, and sometimes they're funny, sometimes they're weird, sometimes they're violent. The movie first got on my radar back actually when I rented the Paragon release of Fulci's The Gates of Hell, because there was a trailer for Boarding House at the beginning, and I was just like, what in the hell is this movie? And I always liked it, but what really solidified my love for it was being able to see it theatrically on 35 millimeter as part of one of Exhum's 24-hour movie marathons. So seeing that movie cracked out of your head in the middle of the night, all delirious with a crowd full of 400 people that are exactly the same, I mean, it tore the house down. The movie is so weird, so bizarre, that I just couldn't help but fall in love with it. And I just recently rewatched it, a couple nights ago in prep for this, just to make sure my opinion still stood. And I really think it did. So really a fun one that hopefully people will check out.
Describe the score, Bruce.
There is also Calisu, the co-star of it. There's this weird, sort of almost pseudo music video ending during their climactic pool party, where this band 33 and a Third plays. And yeah, that's a great moment too. Calisu being John Wintergate's partner. They're still active, doing a whole bunch of weird new age shit.
The lead actor in this movie looks like he spent 90% of his life in a suntan booth, for
More
sure.
or less.
Like,
yeah.
he's like a twink who hit 30 that thought he could tan and still be young or something. All right, we're moving on to Art here for his number 10.
Well, I'd be surprised if this is on anyone else's list, although you never know, because, I'm surrounded by greatness here. I mean, you guys. The choice I have in 10th place is Midnight, John Russo's Midnight. Am I the only one who has this on his list?
Yep.
So, living in Pittsburgh since 2001, Romero fans I tend to pick on. They're easy targets. I love Romero. I love some of Romero's films in particular, but John Russo's place in the Romero pantheon is sometimes unfairly questioned, and maybe he didn't do himself favors with movies like Midnight 2, which has its own little bit of charm. But Midnight is a really cool film. It's one of these oddball 80s movies that feels like a 70s movie, and is about, essentially it's about a cult, has a lot of beat you over the head social commentary and anti-police commentary. It's just a fun movie, and it plays just really, really well. It's fast-paced, and I think it remains an underseen movie. It has a lot of cool, collectible tie-ins. Like, it had multiple titles, so you can collect posters under different names. It had a 12-inch soundtrack and a corresponding 45 of the theme song, which are pretty hard to get now. But when I had the honor and privilege of doing an episode of The Severin Cellar, and I was sort of looking at that wall, and because I didn't know ahead of time I was going to be doing an episode, so I was looking at that wall, making my selections a few minutes before we started. Midnight really jumped out at me as a movie that has a deep personal connection. I've just always had a hard-on for this movie. So anyone else have any thoughts on Midnight?
No, it is a fun one. It's kind of a sort of regional look at rural horror, so it definitely feels like kind of one of those Nightmare USA type movies. So yeah, fun little film, and I agree. It's probably gotten a bad reputation over the years, just based on people trying to compare it to, some of Romero's masterworks. But I do think that movies like that and The Majorettes, even Flesh Eater, I really kind of like all those sort of peripheral Romero films. So yeah, good pick.
I like the film. I think it has a nice kind of vibe, and you get Lawrence Tierney in, playing the sleazy, abusive father who kind of turns hero at the end, which is really strange. John Amplis is in there too, who was so wonderful as Martin. So yeah, actually, when I was at a convention at the Monster Bash a few years back, I talked to John Russo and commented about that film, about how much I liked it, and he was kind enough to just give me the big poster for the film that he had and signed it for me. So I have it. I have it on display in my basement. So yes, I do have affection for that one.
Right, though, we got that soundtrack is amazing, and it's been reissued a few times. But not the theme song is like just a ridiculous earworm, but the whole soundtrack, it's this crazy, like electronic thing. I don't know how to describe it, but it's one of my favorite scores of that year. I love it. And the middle section of this movie, I kind of wish the whole movie had that momentum, but the middle section with the crazy cultist cops and all that is like one of my favorite things of '82. That like 30 minutes in there is just wild. It's like just like a nightmare on film. It's great.
I was letting Nathaniel talk about the soundtrack because that's what I wanted to say too. It's one of my favorites, and it has that weird charm where it's like got that regional charm where it's like, hey, we got like our local church choir to sing this song, and it's very much Truth or Dare, but better because I mean Truth or Dare, that little soundtrack at the end, like. But I love the soundtrack. I actually listen to that one quite often just to listen to the song myself. It reminds me a little bit, kind of like the themes at Last House on the Left in that soundtrack,
Now, people take his convention tables for granted. He used to have so much of this stuff. He used to have like sealed super videotapes of a lot of the movies that were distributed through them. He, but I bought the 45 of the Midnight Theme from him at a convention, and that 7 inches, that's impossible to find. But he used to have like stacks of that stuff. So don't take him for granted. He will not be around forever. He has a lot to say too. Like, people kind of pigeonhole people from his generation and assume what they're going to say. And I remember doing a panel at Cinema Wasteland, a Night of the Living Dead panel, and someone used the term misspent youth. And very provocatively, John Rousseau said, well, my only years of misspent youth were the years that I was in the fucking military. And like that's just like a bold thing to say publicly, right? And, definitely not someone who's looking for you to thank him for his service. Very, very, very far left thinking, and just a cool guy. Like, so, if you see him at a convention, chat him up. He like you'll have a great experience like Troy did for sure.
Also, I just want to mention this. I actually recently, it's the only time I'm ever going to be able to talk about this for random, but John Russo, I've read the Return of the Living Dead book, which is essentially just a direct sequel to Night of the Living Dead. And if you're a big fan of Night of the Living Dead and you're like, I really want some more of that, the kind of posse walking, then definitely read his Return of the Living Dead if you're looking for a sequel to Night of the Living Dead in book form.
Originally a much more nihilistic story, but they made him shoot like an extra epilogue or an extra like climax to the movie. So I'm kind of surprised that Serpent didn't reconstruct the director's cut, because basically you chop off the last like 8 minutes. That's the director's cut. It's supposed to have a real downer ending.
For my number 10, it's on somebody else's list, so I'll just mention it. It's Larry Cohen's Q the Winged Serpent. I fought with putting 2 or 3 movies on the very bottom, but I looked back and I thought, man, if I don't put Q the Winged Serpent in my top 10, it's going to be a tragedy, because I don't know if Larry Cohen's going to make my top 10 any other year except Q. And I love him, but, I'm not so sure, so I put it on there. I do enjoy the film just as much as the other ones that I left off, but great film, so we'll talk about it later. And back to the top, I think, with Troy.
Well, it's appropriate you should pick Larry Cohen, because I have another one that I don't imagine is probably going to be on anybody else's list before my list starts becoming probably fairly predictable. But a movie with Michael Moriarty, directed by Alberto De Martino, called Bloodlink, also known as Extrasensorial. Very interesting horror film with giallo elements. Basically deals with an American doctor who has these sort of strange nightmarish visions, comes to realize that his long thought dead twin brother is still alive and is slaughtering people. So Michael Moriarty does double duty in the film, playing the twin brothers. You've got Cameron Mitchell in a really good supporting role. And it's one of DiMartino's better films from the 80s. The 80s weren't a very kind decade for a lot of Italian filmmakers. They were obliged very often to make films they didn't particularly want to do, that they weren't very proud of. But I think this is a good one. It's got an Ennio Morricone soundtrack, and yeah, it's an odd one. I don't know why it hasn't been picked up for a nice special edition yet. It seems strange because it's got big name value. Michael Moriarty is a weird actor. Sometimes I watch him and I think I can't make up my mind if he's a great actor or a lousy actor. He's very, very unpredictable. He's terrible in some things, but he's brilliant in others, and he's good in this one. So if you haven't seen it, check it out.
Yeah, I do think the Cohen films are probably the best examples of him being great. Yeah, this is a funky little movie. And like you said, I think it probably would be a little bit better known if there was a more recent release. I think all I have of it is the old Embassy VHS, I believe. And I don't know that it's ever hit DVD even anywhere. But yeah, cool film, cool pick.
Yeah, that Cameron Mitchell scene is wonderful. I love that when he meets him in the park, and
Right.
I'm just a big fan of Cameron Mitchell. I feel like as bad as some of the movies he's in as, the only one that I've ever was like he's awful in this was the Warren movie, Frankenstein's Island. That was pretty overall trash, but he's great in everything else.
Stephen King always said that he would have cast Michael Moriarty as Jack Torrance in The Shining. I think he had another actor too. He said either Michael Moriarty or so and so. And what's interesting about that is Jack Nicholson and Michael Moriarty have a scene together in Hal Ashby's The Last Detail. And
Yeah.
Moriarty chews up that scene, right? Like, he holds his own against Jack Nicholson. You can kind of see the two actors together. Brilliant actors, not criticizing Nicholson at all. And of course, I can't imagine The Shining without Nicholson. But that was always Stephen King, always listed Moriarty for some reason as who he would have envisioned as Jack Torrance.
Uh, then we're popping up next with Nathaniel Thompson's number 9.
Two movies. I guess I'm one of the older guys here, but this is one of two movies that I actually saw first run in the theater, and that's probably one reason why it's on my list because it was a very special experience for me, and that is Friday the 13th Part 3 or 3D. I don't know if it's on anybody else's list. Is it?
It is, but it's my number 9 as well. So we'll just go ahead and talk about it. We're the only two with it on there.
Okay.
So go ahead,
Yeah.
Nathaniel.
Yeah, so I was 9 when this movie came out, and was the summer that my mom, who normally did not let me go see R-rated movies, she jetted out for like a month for a work thing, and my dad was like, "Screw it," and he took me to go see like Friday the 13th Part 3 and Blade Runner and The Thing and all this other and Conan, all this stuff. But this was amazing. This was the first like new 3D movie I saw in the theater, and seeing it with a full crowd opening weekend was just amazing. People just erupting and like the eyeball scene alone, but like every single time something popped out, people just went nuts, and I just had a blast. This movie just puts a big smile on my face. I love every second. I love the punks. I love the handstand scene. Just all of it. That opening disco theme. Just all of it. Just gives me warm fuzzy feelings. Yeah, just a great movie.
Yeah, jump in real quick. I find the disco theme absolutely hilarious. Like I cannot help but dance, I just like laugh when I hear it. Like because like I have to do the same score 8 times for these damn movies. I'm gonna mix it up a little bit, and then just the disco theme, like 3 years too late on top of that. But it's just really fun. The characters are fun. It's a little bit bigger than the other ones. You can tell that they threw some money into it, moved a lot of it over to California. So it has like a little bit more of a polished feel to it, but it's like one of the last ones that still has that like kind of a nice Friday feel. The first 5 I feel all have it, and I love them for it. But this one is just particularly fun. And when I rewatched it, I was like, I never thought I was going to put this on my list, but I was like, I just can't think of a movie that's more fun, honestly, to just watch. It's I'm going to say this, it's a perfect, stoner kind of fun movie to watch. Really is.
It is like one of the like whenever they revive it in LA, and it pops up like about once a year. Somebody shows it in 3D, and this is like one of the best crowd movies. Like, if you watch it alone, you're not going to get the full experience. But with a full theater, there's nothing else like this one.
Yeah, and I was lucky enough to see it on 35 millimeter again, thanks to Exhumed Films, who's a Philly-based collective that do a lot of film screenings out here on the East Coast. And yeah, seeing it with a crowd in 3D really elevates it, above just sitting home watching it by yourself.
I've seen it twice that way, and the first time it was an especially big privilege because there was a 3D film festival in Toronto, and one of the people who helped create that super 3D format was present in the audience, and he also showed a demo reel of when they were learning how to use that process of them playing with these little like like Star Trek Enterprise models and stuff and straws and like really explained how the process works. And I'm a sit up close kind of guy at the movies. He explained why this type of 3D, the further back you sit, the better it works. A lot of the new 3D, maybe it's just where I'm seeing it projected, doesn't pop in the way that this does. Like this stuff is in your face, not just the horror scenes. Like when they pass the joint, it's like up in front of your eye. And I have really bad vision. I have really bad astigmatism. Even so, the 3D just works way better than any of this new stuff. The only other 3D I ever saw that worked quite this well was Captain EO at Disneyland. And so the other time I saw it was at the Times Cinema in Milwaukee. Same kind of experience, just in 35 millimeter projected correctly on a silver screen. It pops. And the movie itself, when I first watched the Friday 13 series, not in 3D, it's not one of my particular favorites in the series, but in 3D, it's just an incredible experience.
I think we're moving.
I was gonna say, just the last movie that I think got that kind of charm of 3D was probably My Bloody Valentine, the remake. But ever since then, they've kind of been like, no, we're all about depth. I'm like, no, just shove shit in my face. I want it.
I could. It didn't really like My Bloody Valentine 3D, where I saw it projected. Certainly didn't pop like Friday 13th 3D. But again, I remember seeing one of the Final Destination movies. I think a couple of them were in 3D, and I saw one of them in 3D in Baltimore at one of Bruce's theaters, and that did pop. So maybe I just have shitty theaters here, but
it's pretty bad projections. I saw My Bloody Valentine opening weekend in Times Square, and that thing popped like crazy.
Oh, that's awesome. I went on the set of that movie. They shot that here in Pittsburgh. I was supposed to go on set. I end up at this office, and there's no one there. Like they didn't know I was coming. I'm standing in this unlocked weird building, and no one showed up, so I left. But I was supposed to do an on-set thing for that.
I know it's kind of just like the dumbest thing that only some moron would find dumb, funny, but after hearing the stories of them having to do everything 50, 60 times, when you watch Shelley throw the wallet in the convenience store, he's like, it's so funny because he has to hit his mark and he looks so awkward, and it's just the funniest thing ever watching him have to do it. He's like, the 3D gags when it's not 3D become the funniest thing ever unintentionally, because everyone's like, oh, let me pull this back like that. And you're like, it's just one of the favorite ones. Like I said, first 5, very comfort food for me.
And part 3, I know we have a lot to talk about, but part 3 also has a multiracial cast, which for a series in the time, like a serial series, whatever you want to call these big franchises, that was unusual. And mad props to Friday 13th for having a Latina actress as one of the leads and having Black supporting characters. That was not the thing at that time. So not to spoiler your top movie of the year choice, but yeah.
Bruce?
So my number 9, I'm sure is higher on someone else's list. I do want to qualify and say that, the next several of mine are all pretty much more or less interchangeable. Because it's how the hell do you rate some of these movies against each other? It's a really solid year with a lot of really good choices. And a lot of movies I really like that didn't make my list. So my number 9 is Halloween 3 Season of the Witch.
It is on some other list.
I'm sure.
Art, your number 9?
My number 9 is probably not on anyone else's list, although you never know. It is Trick or Treats. And Trick or Treats is just a strange movie, kind of like Bloodlink. I remember I just one day was I had rented a lot of horror movies, and I'm like, you know what? I keep skipping over all the blood movies. I've seen some of them, but there's dozens of movies in the horror section that started blood. I'm just going to watch them all. And I just rented them one by one. And that's when I saw Bloodlink, which blew my mind. But Trick or Treats, really an oddball film. For those who don't know what it is, it's basically a pre-Home Alone horror version of Home Alone. This nasty kid fucks with his babysitter and kills people. And it's a wild one. Very underseen, underappreciated. I think overshadowed by the heavy metal Trick or Treat with Mark Price, who befriended me at a convention. Very sweet guy. But yeah, Trick or Treats has a great cast, and it was nice to see it finally come out on Blu-ray. I was this was a did it skip DVD? I think it did. I think it went from No, it did not skip DVD.
No,
Okay.
I think didn't Code Red put it out on DVD before they
okay.
did it on Blu-ray or whatever? Yeah,
That's right. Code Red did put it out on DVD. That was a movie that I was not expecting to come back. That I thought it would be relegated to VHS only. But cool flick. I don't know that it has as many fans as it ought to, but
yeah, it was a movie I was hoping would not come back. Not high on my list. Not on my honorable mentions. Yet somehow I did buy it on both formats after watching it. So
I bought the fucker 3 times.
right, yeah. It's like, what good am I? But yeah, it's yeah, that's a rough one for me.
Just movies go. I will take this one any day over Better Watch Out.
Well, yes, yes. I'm with you on that.
Better Watch Out. The Christmas Evil. What's Better Watch Out?
No,
No,
the
the
2016 one.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I
Now
kind of
what
like that movie. I'm fine with that movie.
Now, what I will give Trick or Treat is that it does have has a really good cast, really interesting, because it's Gary Graver, right? Did Gary Graver direct it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's his kid.
Right. But yeah, and it has David Carradine, and who plays the mom?
It's got Peter Jason in it. He's pretty good in it.
I think it has a small role from Paul Bartel in the beginning. He's like one of the people.
Steve
in the
Railsback's in
asylum.
there too.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it does have a good cast.
To me, it's one of those movies where it's like the drinking budget was probably more than the actual rest of the budget for the movie. Like, like when you see Without Warning, that scene when they go in the bar and like, oh boy, there's their budget, and drank that fucker up real fast. But I love Without Warning. But Trick or Treats to me always was like if they cut a lot of the suspense from Halloween and still made it.
No, so if I'm being when making this list, I was trying to be honest with myself. Like, there's a couple of movies that are objectively better than but these are my 10 favorite movies. Like,
exactly.
I am more
We all got
likely, like when we were doing the Amityville 2 episode, me, you, and Rob Jabaz. I mean, I'm more likely to watch Amityville 2 than I am The Exorcist. I just am, And I'm certainly more likely to watch Trick or Treats than, a few films from this year that I would concede are better films. But it's a personal favorite. It's a lot of fun. And I think, for all of its shortcomings, it's a semi-novel concept. And, watch it with a group, too. Like, it's a fun movie to watch with others,
And since I already did my number 9 with Nathaniel Friday 13th Part 3, we're going to hop back to the top of the list with, we're definitely going with Troy for his number 8.
Yeah, my number 8 is one of the big ones. It's obviously a film that was enormously successful and has generated sequels and has been remade. A movie, though, that I've struggled with off and on down through the years. Loved it as a kid. Then I went through a long period of time where I was like, nah, this movie sucks. But then I revisited it within the last couple of years, and I thought, yeah, it's got something. It's not quite one of my great favorites, but I do like it. Poltergeist. Always going to be that question mark in the air. How much of it is Tobe Hooper and how much of it is Steven Spielberg? A lot of it feels like Spielberg to me. However, as this type of kind of flashy, special effects driven type of horror film goes, it's a very good example. It's got some very very effective sequences that made a big impact on me as a kid when I saw it, especially the clown. That was, nightmare fuel for me as a child. And it's a very, I think, a better film than I gave it credit for a long time.
I think we have the first film sin from the rest of us here because it didn't make anybody else's list, which I...
Really?
Yeah,
that's actually really surprising. Yeah.
Well, and that was one I struggled with. It was close.
I mean, being the age I am, like I said, when we got cable in '83, Poltergeist was everywhere. And besides Universal Monsters movies, I think the first horror movie I watched from start to finish was probably Poltergeist. Has a very special place in my heart for that reason. And, I loved it as a kid. And I got to see it in 35 millimeter, like 25 years later, beautiful single screen theater, and I was so excited to finally see Poltergeist that way, and I hated it. I thought it was this like overblown Hollywood bullshit, and I was like, God damn, like because a lot of the time, if not all the time, my childhood favorites really hold up, and so I rewatched it a couple, at the beginning of this year, and it has some really great scenes. There's certainly some really cool sequences, but yeah, I think it is like overblown Hollywood bullshit, really. Like, and it meant a lot to me as a kid. I understand, its place in pop culture. Certainly, I visited Carol Ann's grave when I was at that cemetery. We've, you can see Marilyn Monroe and the little dead kid from Poltergeist and Truman Capote, and you see like actually important people in her. But no, it's a bummer when our childhood faves, like The Muppets Take Manhattan's fucking awesome. I loved it when I was a kid. I love it now. But Poltergeist, nah.
Yeah, I had a similar reaction to Troy. Loved it as a kid. When I got to the teenage years, you kind of become cooler than Poltergeist, you think. You're just like, it's PG studio horror. I don't need that shit. I got Lucio Fulci. But then, watching it again more recently, 10 years ago or whatever was probably my last watch of it. I said, you know what? There is a lot of really effective stuff in here. There is a lot of stuff that works. It still does get a little, to me anyway, I don't want to necessarily say schmaltzy, but it does have kind of like a lot of that, some family-friendly, more fantasy-leaning stuff, which is probably more the Spielberg influence. But I do think that there's enough good stuff in there. Like Troy said, that clown scene, it will fuck you up. It did as a kid, and it's still really effective now. And the pool, the swimming pool, the corpses rising and stuff. Some really, really good stuff in there. And the performances are fantastic. Like the characters as they're written, like Craig T. Nelson and Jo Beth Williams are so good in it, as just portraying just this typical American like middle class family at the time. So yeah, I think that their sense of reality really kind of grounds the film for as over the top as it gets.
Yeah, it's probably my least favorite of Tobe Hooper's run of really good films, from Eggshells through Texas Chainsaw 2, where like he was on fire before the drugs just fucked him up irrevocably and everything kind of went to shit. But during that period of time, even it's funny because it's the big one, it's the popular one, it's the mainstream one, and I'm not one of these guys who's like, I don't like mainstream stuff. I was like that for a while. I kind of grew out of it. That doesn't bother me, but I do feel that there is kind of a dueling vision going on in that film that undoes it a little bit. Mm-hmm. So it is a little bit schmaltzy. It is definitely, it's overproduced. But yeah, the good stuff in it ensured that it would make my top 10.
Right.
You kind of miss, again, this is, as a kid going to see was kind of special. This and Gremlins both pull that neat trick where they feel like cozy Spielberg movies, and all of a sudden you just have this like shocking imagery jumping out at you. But I miss that. Like that kind of that weird schizophrenic feeling to me was really special.
Right.
So I actually kind of love the whole like the goody two shoes family stuff. Like it to me it works perfectly. I miss it. And I love this movie. I don't love it quite as much as my top 10, but it's so close. But this is fun. And also Poltergeist 3 is crazy underrated.
I agree.
Oh, yes, it is. I like Poltergeist 3 a lot. I actually think that's a really
God. Wait a second. Do I have to fucking rewatch that movie? I saw it one time on opening day, and I hated it. Are you telling me I have to watch that again? Because I will.
Crap.
If you're telling me to, I will. Because I remember seeing that movie on opening day, and however old I was not that old, and I was like, this is shit. So, I mean, God, like...
I mean, it is Gary Sherman, so I mean,
I know. I've thought about rewatching it over the years, but
yeah, me too. And I haven't either.
The mirror tricks are brilliant. The mirror tricks are brilliant.
All right, I'm gonna watch Poltergeist 3.
The window wiper, looking up. Oh boy, stuff in nightmares as a child. Yeah, I mean,
some great stuff in it.
I
thought life was too short to rewatch Poltergeist 3, but
life's too short to watch Poltergeist 2. Don't watch Poltergeist 2.
I wasn't planning on it.
Poltergeist 2 was another one that played at one of the Exhumed 24-hour-thons I went to. And like, there's two great scenes in there. You know, the one with the kid with his braces where they attack his face, and then the scene with Craig T. Nelson and barfing up the tequila worm monster.
Tequila worm.
Like those two scenes are so good, and like even the stuff with the old preacher is kind of creepy. But the end of that, where they're like they're floating through the afterlife with like grandmom and stuff. I'm like, what in the fuck is this?
No, but like I mean,
bad.
yeah, no, it's so hokey. But the thing about Poltergeist 2, like my very first Fangoria was the one with Poltergeist 2 on the cover. Like if it wasn't for my childhood adoration of Poltergeist, it might have taken a few more months for me to start reading Fango. And like, I mean, I have to give credit where credit's due. I mean, so that's important to me. I remember seeing Poltergeist 2 on opening night, being extremely excited, and I liked it as a kid. And then I watched it again just a couple years later. It was like, oops. But guess I have to watch Poltergeist 3 now. God damn it.
I know, me too. We'll have a watch party.
Just to briefly mention on Poltergeist, it's so iconic too, especially with the static television stuff. To just not have it mentioned at all, it was just due to its like iconography, pop culture stuff is kind of criminal. But it's a great movie.
I mean, everybody knows.
I love it, but it's not.
Everybody knows. Was it They're Here?
Yeah.
Like everybody knew what that was, even if they hadn't seen Poltergeist. It was it was ingrained in pop culture.
Yeah. And Jimmy Caron is great in it. You gotta love James Caron. It's
he always
perfect.
is.
Perfect. But I mean, his high role obviously would be a couple years later.
Zelda Rubinstein too. Like
she's great.
Like that's hokey, stupid shit, but like she's cool. You know,
she sells it.
Yeah, she really does. She's great. Anguish is great because of her. You know, like yeah.
So I think where are we at here? We just started with Troy's number 8, so we're going to jump to Nathaniel's number 8. Yep.
So, my number 8 is Halloween 3: Season of the Witch.
It is higher.
I figured.
Yeah.
Bruce, number 8.
So my number 8. It's funny because when we did last year's episode, 1981. I did not include Dark Knight of the Scarecrow because it was a made-for-television movie, and I'm like, that shouldn't qualify. But this year, I made a special arrangement in my list. I had to make space for it. And I'm going to imagine it might be higher on someone else's list. I'm not looking at anyone specific, Nathaniel. But that is Don't Go to Sleep.
It is.
Okay.
All right, we're breezing right through this list. Art's number 8.
Well, there's no way this isn't higher on someone else's list, which is Tenebrae.
Yeah. And then that hits my number 8, which is another one that appears a little bit higher on somebody else's list. This is John Roland's Living Dead Girl. It's my personal favorite of his, so it's on my list. Again, like I said about Cohen, I don't know if he'll ever make the list again, especially in the 80s. But yeah, so we're going to jump back to the top of the list with Troy's number 7.
Well, I have a feeling this is going to be on somebody else's list, probably higher, and that is Damiano Damiani's Amityville 2: The Possession.
It is. Moving to Nathaniel's number, what the hell are we on? Number 7.
Sleep. Roots and I were very close. One of the greatest horror movies made for television. Still kind of overlooked. I don't know if you want to like tag team on this one, but yeah, it's this is actually like a much more intense family horror film than Poltergeist, which is weird considering it was made for network television. But yeah, it's
and stars the kid from the boy from Poltergeist.
Oliver Robbins from Poltergeist is in it. But yeah, Valerie Harper and Dennis Weaver play grieving parents. Their oldest daughter died in a car wreck, and her ghost is screwing around with all the family members. But this has some amazingly traumatic scenes. This is kind of like Burnt Offerings on steroids. I mean, it goes super, super dark. I was shocked as a kid when this aired on TV, and I was like, I can't believe what I'm watching. But yeah, very creepy, very intense. If you haven't seen it before, just find it. It's on YouTube. You can find it. I can't believe it still hasn't had like an official Blu-ray release. That breaks my heart, but I hope someone does it.
Yeah, it's definitely a dark movie. It's really twisted. And Don't Go to Sleep almost plays like a Frodo A24 horror film.
Yeah.
But, because it's dealing with trauma and guilt and, those sort of themes, but it does it without any sort of self-awareness, without any sort of pretentiousness. It's just a really mean-spirited little TV movie that is, right, a real gem, a real underseen gem, a real surprise. So, yeah. would love to see a good release of that come out.
Do you know if Don't Go to Sleep aired on network TV besides its initial airing? Because when I went to, I was thinking I was going to be watching it as a first time watch, um, like a couple years ago when I watched it, but I had seen it as a child. I really don't think I saw it though in December of '82 when it first aired. Do you think they re-aired it at some point?
It's on network television. 'Cause I remember when it aired that night, but after that, because I kept an eye out because I loved it so much. The next time I
Yeah.
saw it pop up was on TBS. They ran it a few times.
Okay, so maybe that's where I saw it because when I saw it, I was like, "Oh, this is so exciting! Everyone's talking about this." And then, okay, all right, so that's I might have seen it on TBS.
Probably.
Great film.
I do think the Dennis Weaver stuff with the bathtub, it was just a little kind of like too real for a TV movie. You're like, it's showing that sensitivity of the dad and everything. I was like, this feels like, have you ever been around people that have like suffered loss and you see somebody just like kind of crumble that shouldn't be crumbling in front of you? I felt like they did that really well.
Yeah.
Well, and fantastic supporting cast too. I mean, you got Ruth Gordon in there as the grandmom, and I thought the kids did a great job. Even the Poltergeist kid. He starts off just kind of a stereotypical bratty brother, but then there's the point where like his sister's crying in the bed, and he just kind of like looks up at her. He's like, "Don't cry, you'll be okay." You know what I mean? So it kind of just does add this sort of like familial tenderness to the way things would be with a real family. And like Dave said, it does present his characters in a realistic fashion of this insane, fucked up scenario.
He's accessible. If you ever see him at a convention, he's one of these people who is not just there to make money. Like he likes to hang out with the fans. You'll see him in the lobby after hours. I've hung out with the guy. Very nice guy. So, I had not seen this yet last time I hung out with him. But if you ever get the chance to talk to him about it, I'm sure he would be more than willing. He's a cool dude.
Gonna move on to Bruce's number 7.
My number 7, I am pretty positive is higher on someone else's list, because it is a beloved classic, and that would be Creepshow.
It is indeed. And then we're gonna jump to Art Ediger's number 7 here.
This is probably not on anyone else's list, although it should be on all of your lists, which is the last horror film. It's not on anyone else's list. God damn it. Come on, everybody. So the thing about the last horror film that I will concede is if Maniac didn't exist, and if you had never seen Carolyn Monroe and Joe Spinell individually or together, would this be such a spectacular film? And I think it would be, but I can't say for sure. It's hard to separate it out that way. Just seeing these two back together again when they're such like a beloved pair in Maniac, their chemistry and from Maniac and Star Crash is just gorgeous. Little things that made me drool back in the day, like they walk by where Cannibal Holocaust is screening at Cannes, for example. But Joe Spinell, man, like he was just the best of the best. And Caroline, I've had the pleasure of interviewing both at Q&As and on a Blu-ray special feature. She's a lot of fun. But yeah, the last horror film, I don't have like much specific to say other than it's just a comfort movie for me. It's one of these movies that just always puts a smile on my face, and happy it keeps getting re-released. Hopefully, doesn't seem like it really has the fan base maybe to warrant the like 800 releases, but I'm happy with it.
What I like about it is that it has all these people in it that had no clue they were in it. It's Marcello Mastroianni's only horror film, because they were filming at Cannes, and you get all these people in there, and that's the really fun aspect. I was just watching the Cannes Festival and seeing all those famous faces who have absolutely no clue what they're about to end up in. That's what I really enjoy about it.
DVD for this movie is a riot. If you click the full cast list, and it's just hysterical.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I will agree with Art that it does seem like it is kind of not loved as much as it should be. Like, it doesn't have as big of a cult as it should. Because it is really a cool, funky little movie. It's like I love the stuff with Joe Spinell's mom, his real life mom, when she's nagging him about stuff. And he's like, "But Ma!" It has cool kills. Like you said, a lot of great location footage. It can. So yeah, it is really just kind of like a fun little funky movie that I do think should be talked about more. And I'm happy that we have a great Severin special edition of it. They finally found some of those uncut gore scenes on film and managed to slug them back in. So I mean, at least now we do at least have a definitive release of it. But yeah, I do think it's one that should get a little more attention.
Yeah, and any movie with Joe Spinell in a leading performance is worth watching. I mean, Joe Spinell has got to be top 5, 10 character actors of all time, just for the movies he popped up in and how he's like the best connector actor, right?
Right.
Well, he's
And
best invested.
The Undertaker is particularly fascinating because it's like two different movies. Those two, it's like, is this even the same thing? I mean, there's very little overlap in those two versions of the Undertaker, and I was one of the people who helped with the Vinegar Syndrome release because I had the VHS version that has a lot of footage that they couldn't find anywhere else. That movie surfaced in the beginning of like the dawn of DVD. So people like Bruce Holecheck would go to Chiller and they would just buy all the like other region DVD stuff. And if there's a guy in the corner with like 3 new VHS boots, forget about it. And so that's where I got The Undertaker. That's where I got Sean Cunningham's Together, another movie that surfaced on a VHS bootleg when everyone was buying DVDs at the very like crossover period there. But so yeah, not to get off course, but like what a fascinating study in editing, right? Like you have these two movies that are completely different.
Getting to my number 7, it is on someone else's list. It's Jack Shoulder's Alone in the Dark, so we'll talk about that in a little bit. And right back to the top of the list with Troy's number
6.
6. Yeah.
Number 6. Well, I know for a fact it's on somebody else's. I don't know if anybody has it any higher than me. Halloween 3.
It is a little higher somewhere, so. Sorry about that. And we're going to move to Nathaniel's number 6 here. And hey!
It's a row now. I assume this is as high as it goes. Is that correct?
Yep, it is.
Okay. Yeah, no surprise if you know me. It is indeed Alone in the Dark. I love this movie, every frame of it to death. We did a whole episode on it. Bunch of inmates in upstate New York get escape during a citywide blackout. Lots of fun ensues. Some of the greatest punk numbers ever put on film. Just a blast. I love this movie. It's still stupidly underrated. I think because they sold it as a slasher film and it's a little trickier than that, but it's a great black comedy, great commentary, great everything. But yeah, I already spent 2 hours yapping about my love of this movie.
Is it the only movie where Donald Pleasance smokes pot? It's certainly the only one I can think of. He's the pot smoking doctor.
Yeah,
on camera, because I'm pretty sure he resorted to it off camera on a few films.
Possibly.
Yeah, I actually love this movie too. It's one that I just love character actors or stars that are in like horror movies, and especially when they do a good job. And Jack is great in it, and Donald Pleasance is great in it. But there's an underrated actor who only did a handful of movies, and he died really young. Is Erwin Van Lith. Mm-hmm. And I think he turns in the scariest performance. That scene is so intense when he's like, "Do you have paper? I can show you to do." And that she treats him like she's more adult than him, so he like loses interest. It's like that. That's a lot of psychological stuff going on in there, but it's a real fun movie. I love gang like movies where you have like a crew of villains. Like that's why something like Class of 1984 is a favorite of mine. Anything where there's like a ragtag group of people that are together. It's just a lot of fun. It's a wild movie, a real wild movie. A little bit kind of science fiction in the aspect where it's like it's ran on electricity. It's just that's such a stupid catalyst for the whole thing, but it's fun.
One of my favorite things in it too. We can't move on without mentioning Martin Landau and the postman's hat. I love that whole thing.
I want that hat. Right.
Now, this movie, unfortunately for me, was a little bit spoiled by Terror in the Aisles. Like, I had seen the scenes from it in Terror in the Aisles, and so I wish I had seen Alone in the Dark beforehand. Great film, though. And Jack Shoulder's a cool guy. You know, I think many of us have had contact with him. And when he does conventions, too, he also hangs out. I know that at Cinema Wasteland, we did a Q&A with him, and he and Kelly Maroney came out to dinner with us, which was fun. But definitely just a different movie, you know, like it doesn't feel very 1982. It's sort of, again, a movie that sort of has a 70s vibe, even though it's you're squarely in the 80s by then.
Yeah, Shoulder was nice enough to join me, Dave, and Nathaniel
Yeah.
for our episode on the film, and he was great. I mean, it was almost like he required no prompting whatsoever. He just hit the ground running and was just laying out all these stories and stuff. So yeah, he was great. It is a really cool movie. I saw it. I think I'm positive we discussed it on the episode, but I saw it young as a kid on cable, and that scene with the knife through the bed. That's another like major kinder trauma sort of scene that you see that as a kid, and yeah, that makes you fucking scared of whatever's under the bed at like all points. So yeah, really cool, funky movie. But again, this was a tough year, so it did not make my list. Even though obviously I'm a big fan.
Bruce, what's your number six?
My number six, I may be alone in this one, is Don Dohler's Nightbeast. I am
You
alone
are.
in this, son of a bitch. How dare you guys? So Nightbeast, to me, essentially epitomizes regional no budget filmmaking. I mean, this was literally just a guy and a group of people that wanted to go out and make movies. Super ambitious. You got monsters, miniatures. It's about this alien that falls to Earth, and just all the locals decide they have to kill it because it's going around on a rampage with a laser gun, sometimes stopping to rip off heads or yank out intestines. Really fast paced, really funny, full of Baltimore accents, and just rampant violence, questionable sex scenes. Uh, and to me, it's just everything that's fun about this sort of like low level filmmaking that was popping out at the time. It kind of has a really weird sensibility about it because Don wasn't so much into sex and violence. He grew up loving movies of an earlier era. However, the market sort of necessitated those kind of things for obvious video sales. So yeah, he kind of shoehorns in these sort of exploitable elements into this bizarro sort of sci-fi framework.
Your Nightbeast episode might take the cake as far as a deep dive on these on the mrparka channel. So congrats on that.
Yeah, that was a fun one to do.
Yeah, Bruce called in a whole bunch of people for that one. You know what? The thing about Nightbeast, rewatching it and doing that video, it's like you don't realize how many people that regional little movie gave a chance to and got started and inspired. Like it ties in directly with all those early kind of workings and stuff. So that was probably the most interesting thing for me. I always enjoyed the movie. It's really fast paced and fun, But I always felt like the first act was so strong that it could never live up the rest of the movie.
It's cool that it got out there too. I mean, that tape was not a hard to find tape,
Right.
like just the idea that like in the peak of the video store era, just random ass like soccer moms were renting Nightbeast is just like amazing to me.
Well, and the movie was pretty much shot, 20 minutes for me. So as a kid, I think I mentioned in the episode, it's like I didn't know they made movies in Baltimore, So the idea of being able to watch this crazy little movie that was literally shot right down the road was just fascinating to me. And yeah, I've loved it ever since.
And then we're at to Art's number six.
Well, I had high hopes earlier with my list, but now I'm feeling fairly confident that none of you will have this on your list, although you never know. Visiting hours? You guys. You guys. Shame. I will admit that of the movies on my list, this is the only one that I haven't seen in a while. I think the most recent Blu-ray release is over a decade old now. It's like from 2014, Shout Factory. I think they also had it on a double feature with maybe Bad Dreams or some such.
Yep.
I thought it was X-ray, wasn't it?
It's Bad Dreams.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, it's just like I haven't seen it in a minute, so I can't like with the degree of confidence the other films on my list. It's just a movie that I've always thought was very powerful, an excellent serial killer movie, an excellent like study of like a solitary guy. The trailer's incredible, the poster's incredible, and so it sticks in your mind like as far as its ad campaign. But it's just like it's not. I wouldn't put it in the same category as the confrontational horror movies that I gravitate towards most, but it does have a bit of like the ick vibe to it that mainstream movies rarely do. I think it was a little bit in your face for its time, and it's a cool little movie. Um, it had a big theatrical release, big video release, and it's kind of fallen out of favor. It's been over a decade since its most recent video release, and I'd like to see more love for visiting hours. If you have the opportunity, pay visiting hours a visit.
Michael Ironside's great in it.
Absolutely.
He is really horrifying, in that film. And it does have a couple really good scares too. I know there's like a prolonged sequence of someone like looking around their living room or looking around their house that kind of has a surprise jump to it. And then just like sort of like his frame of mind, he's trying to get into this hospital that's locked down, or the person he wants to kill is in this hospital locked down, so he kind of comes up with a pretty clever way of getting in there. Really good movie. I agree with your pick. It's not on my list, but it was definitely on my runners up. I do think it is kind of an underrated movie that, like you said, it seems like it's kind of fallen out of favor, isn't quite as touted as it probably should be.
It's interesting when a movie that is like hardly obscure at all kind of falls into obscurity, right?
Right.
Think about how big of a movie Visiting Hours was, as far as it being, a studio movie, a wide release movie, and then think about like movies that are way smaller that are watched with greater frequency today. It's interesting how you can have like a movie that barely played theatrically in the States that is like celebrated today, and then you have a movie like this that's just kind of fallen by the wayside.
It seems like a lot of mid-tier movies do fall to the wayside. The independent weird ones are always there and the big ones are, but the mid-tier ones kind of disappear. I remember the first time I saw Visiting Hours, I was probably about 12, 13, and I went to this video store and they had it. And I find this very funny because I watched a lot of low-budget, weird, crappy movies, and I'd always try to like connect them to like mainstream so people would be interested in them, but they never really gave a shit. So and poor mom's taking me there, and I'm like, Ma, this has William Shatner in it, and these are like real actors. This is a real movie. Visiting Hours. It's like a big movie. She's like, whatever. Like, and I remember renting the tape and everything like that because I knew who even Ironside was even as a kid. But it's a solid movie.
Slasher movies, a lot of those are kind of forgotten now. Visiting Hours for me is kind of in that same group with like A Stranger's Watching, where they were like big movies when they came out. They were everywhere, and they're like on VHS all the time. And suddenly it was like they just ceased to exist, which is weird. Like nobody ever talks about them anymore. But like whereas a movie like Final Exam, which I don't think anybody would argue is a better movie than Visiting Hours, but that has like a UHD release. It's been out 20 times. So yeah, it's just weird how that works.
Right.
Same thing with Scream. 1981.
Another movie none of us like, but we've all bought it 4 times.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I guess we'll get to the halfway point here, and then we'll take a little intermission break. So my number 6 is on somebody else's list, of course, and that is Frank Hennelander's Basket Case. Could not do a list without Basket Case. I would be untrue to myself, and so there we go. We'll talk about it a little later, where we take that intermission.
Are you do what you gotta do and go?
All right, we're back from intermission, starting back at the top of the list with Troy's number 5.
Well, my number 5, I know for a fact, is on somebody else's list because it's already been mentioned. I don't know if anybody's got any higher, though. It's The Living Dead Girl by Jean Rollin.
Nope, you're the highest.
I am the highest. Well, there you go. I mean, Jean Rollin is one of those guys like Jess Franco. He's very much a love him or hate him kind of proposition in general. It's not for all tastes. Rollin is always bracketed in with the horror genre, and understandably so, but he doesn't really make scary movies as such. That's not really what he's doing. He does what the French call fantastique. These are films that are, they're very sort of dreamlike, they're very melancholy, they're very poetic. They very rarely go for anything sort of overtly shocking. But this movie, and I guess also his kind of zombie film Grapes of Death, probably are his most overtly kind of conventional horror movies in a way. It's not my favorite of his films, but it is definitely a really striking film. Like all of his movies, very interesting visuals, and it has its own sort of weird dreamy rhythm. So yeah, I like it a lot.
I had this one as my number 8. I think it's probably my favorite Jean Rollin movie. I think it's an easily accessible one, at least in my brain. It's more accessible to other people. I think that it has the most dramatic stuff in it. I know me and Nathaniel talked about it. I think that ending is just one of the best endings of the year. I think it's just haunting. I love the you always have that idea like his camera work. It's like you're sitting there and you zoom out and you're like, I'm watching this for like 5 minutes, but I'm somehow captivated. And a lot of other people, you'd be like, all right, wrap this up. That's enough of that. But he just somehow does really well with keeping you invested in long camera shots and beautiful stuff like that. So I think it's a great movie. I think it's just couldn't have it not on the list. I would feel like a fraud.
Yeah, funny games can only dream of having a 5-minute shot like that one. So I love this one too. This one again, scraped very close to making my list. I love it. It's not my number one Roland, but it's way up there. I think if it wasn't with the stuff with the tourists, this would probably be like a perfect film. That's a slight debit to me, but yeah, this is a really, really great one. Any other year, this would have easily in my top 10.
And just to sort of indicate what my sensibility is, I guess probably my number one. I mean, I go back and forth with Shiver the Vampires, which I really do truly love. But the more I see it, the more the Iron Rose is the one that is my favorite. And that's the plotless film with just two people in a cemetery. And again, people either love that movie or hate it, but I adore it. So there you go.
Yeah,
I think it
go ahead.
I think it has to do with the order you see them in too. My first Jean Roland movie was Fascination, and I think it's still my favorite just because my mind was blown. I've heard about this great filmmaker. You finally check out his movies, and it was not really what I expected. But yeah, those visuals are just one of a kind. The pacing, it is sort of a genre unto itself, right? It's like it's definitely different. And Living Dead Girl was one of two movies that just pained me not to put on my list. But again, I just had to be honest about what my personal favorites are. But really, really a great movie. And maybe if it was my first Jean Roland movie, it would be my favorite as well. But it's a stunner.
Yeah, I did have it on my initial top 10 list actually, but then I kind of, as I was rewatching some of these things, I did shuffle it around a bit. I probably have to agree with you, Art, that my favorite Jean Roland is Fascination. And it's funny because had you asked me, 10, 15 years ago, I probably would have listed Living Dead Girl or Raisins de la Mort as my favorites, because those were the ones that, when I first started watching this stuff in the 90s, when we were getting bootlegs of all this stuff, they were sort of the more effects heavy films of his, sort of the gorier ones. So I sort of gravitated towards those. But as time goes on and you get older and you start watching these things, you do kind of start to appreciate his sort of like poetic sensibilities. So yeah, like Troy said, Living Dead Girl is really a somber sort of melancholy love story, really. But like Nathaniel mentioned, the stuff with the tourists does seem kind of at odds with the rest of the film. I mean, eventually it all does kind of converge, not necessarily happily for some of the participants. It is a really solid film. It was on my initial 10, but yeah, I moved it to the runners up.
Well, and it says something about how much he was on fire around this time that nobody has dropped two of my favorites, which are Demoniacs and Lips of Blood, which are also great.
Right.
Lips of Blood is, another contender. I mean, that's both of those, yeah.
I find it odd that he didn't direct any other horror movies in the 80s, It's kind of that was the last one. And it was just like, man, he was getting, like, they were getting better and better, more 80s. In fact, I just wish he would have, it's weird, made a couple more of them in the 80s instead of, I think he did what? The School Hitchhikers is like late 80s, maybe?
I think that was earlier.
They weren't particularly popular. That was the problem. So,
right.
He kind of drifts into, porn, which really wasn't something he wanted to do, but he did it. And, eventually he comes back to the horror genre later, makes some interesting stuff later on. So anything that Roland did is worth watching. I mean, I think that all the films have something to recommend. I mean, even Zombie Lake, which is a mess, has a little bit of that poetry in it. So yeah. I'm a fan.
I stand corrected. That would have been the first Roland movie I watched, but that transfer was so fucking bleak. Like, that was one of those where you rented and you're like, well, maybe I would like this movie if I could fucking see it. Like you're a kid and you're like, I don't know, like this is not really My vision's bad, but what is So
I mean, who wouldn't rent Zombie Lake though? I mean, Jesus
Yeah,
Christ! You see
yeah,
that box cover
yeah,
and you're
of
like,
course.
oh, I need
Oh
this,
yeah.
and then you watch it and you're like, what in the fuck?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
how could I forget? So I stand corrected. That was my first exposure, of course.
I actually think I rented Zombie Lake for my grandfather to record. I used to go down to like video stores that were far out and rent a bunch of movies and give them to my grandpa. He'd record them for me. He brought that one back and he was like, "You might not want to give him this one because the opening is all the falling underwater camera
rampant
shot." He
spread
was like,
eagle,
"That
right?
one's a
Spread
little
eagle
bit,
badges, like
well, I know
swimming
my
underwater,
grandpa definitely
right?
watched that probably a couple times, but he was like, "Maybe you don't." Move on to Nathaniel's number 5.
My number 5, I'm almost positive this is on somebody else's list. My number 5, again, hard to rank these from this point onward, but it's Lucio Fulci's New York Ripper.
Yeah, it is. It is higher.
Good.
All right. Bruce, your number 5 is?
My number 5, it was already mentioned by someone else, but I pretty much know for a fact that it's higher on someone else's list, and that would be Frank Henenlotter's Basket Case.
It is. And then we're going to get to Art. Art's number 5 here.
Amityville 2, The Possession.
Yep.
Is that the highest it is?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Amityville 2, The Possession, when we recorded our episode, I went back and looked at when it played on cable. And this is also one of the first horror movies I watched from start to finish. It was mainly on cable from 1983 to 1985, which is the 3rd through 5th grade for me. I remember the content warnings in TV Guide. This is one of the movies that had the coveted R for rape. And it was always like, ooh, what is this about? And the scene with Diane Franklin and her brother just really was like wild to see as a kid. The sacrilegious dialogue, even at that young age, I knew that religion was bullshit and cracks me up. Like, he does it to hurt who? To hurt you? No, to hurt God. Like, it's like comedy gold. We just went on and on about this movie in an episode with Rob Jabaz, who directed The Sadness. So you can listen to me fanboy about this movie. One of the things that I think is interesting to think about, I went back and looked at AdMats, the 3-screen theater where one of the places that played in my hometown is still open. One of the other screens at the same time was showing Last American Virgin. She was that movie had like a platform release where it went from city to city. So Diane Franklin was all over the place that year. Also, Rocky 3 was still playing. So you had cast members of this movie, Burt Young and Diane Franklin were all over the place. The third movie playing at that 3-screener was the X-rated Emmanuel's Daughter, fascinatingly. But one of the just like rare instances where a sequel's better than the original. This movie has a zany sensibility, and it's just like so good. Like it's family drama stuff plays out very nicely. The gore effects are from an Academy Award winner, and it's same thing with the score, right? I mean, it's just a class act all around, and a movie that I think freaked out a lot of kids when it was on HBO back in the day. The Blu-ray commentary track from the daughter of the person who, the paranormalist who wrote the book about the real life case. What a bizarre audio commentary track, because she tries to act like semi-reasonable and that she doesn't really believe in all the like ridiculous things, but then she'll have throwaway lines where she'll say like, everyone knows that dead people can make phone calls. Like she like just like ridiculous, like, oh yeah, the dead are known to call. Like, are you out of your fucking mind? Like, okay, like I understand that there are a lot of people on this earth who believe in supernatural things. I've grown to accept this. It makes me uncomfortable, but it's true. A lot of people believe in supernatural things. I hope that very few people are expecting a phone call from a dead loved one. Because spoiler alert,
I got a call. I got a call here.
Yeah. I mean, but anyway, I could go on and on, as I did go on and on about Amityville 2 recently on your show. Definitely a personal favorite. Also, just one of the first horror movies I watched from start to finish. This thing was not just on cable. It was like on cable. It was on every fucking day. I mean, you could not escape Amityville 2 for those 2 years of its heavy play on American cable networks. So no, this movie is just so fun. I screened it in 35 millimeter here in my brief tenure as a guy who tried to book movies. I screened a double feature of this and Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 on 35 millimeter, and it played very well with an audience who a lot of them had not seen it before. Fun movie, and he does it to hurt God.
I had it on my list too, and there are a couple things I wanted to mention about it. First of all, it is the only Amityville film I care about. I don't know at this point how many there've been. There've been like 50 Amityville things, Amityville in space and everything else. The original film is, I just think it's boring, quite frankly. It just doesn't do much for me. But the second one is really, really good. And I think one of the reasons it's so good, and this is the other thing I wanted to touch on, was who they got to direct this thing. Dino De Laurentiis was able to get somehow, the man must have owed back taxes or something. He got Damiano Damiani to direct this film, who is not at all connected to this type of film. He makes very politically committed, very leftist films, very often dealing with, very critical of the establishment in Italy, making films about the mafia, very serious, high-minded films. And here he is making this incredibly sleazy sequel to an American box office hit. It's such a surreal thing, but there you go. And it is beautifully done. I do think the first half of the film is better than the second half when it turns into more of an Exorcist knockoff. I think it loses a little something there, but the whole film is just so much fun to watch. Burt Young is terrific in it. And it goes there. Even when I saw that film as a child, I don't know exactly when I saw it, but even as a kid, I knew there was something really weird about this movie. It was like seeing Nightmare on Elm Street 2 for the first time when I went. My older brother took me to see that, and I'm sitting in the audience like, there's something weird about this movie. I didn't understand it at the time, but this one too, with the whole incest thing and everything else, was like, this is really grubby and gross and disturbing. And I think it's a wonderful film.
All I want to say is rewatching it this time, and it got stuck in my head, and I kept doing it. Is you do what you gotta do, you go. I just kept saying it. That's my favorite part of the whole movie. You do what you gotta do, you go. Like, Burt Young steals that movie. Ratana Alda should be mentioned too. She's in 3 movies this year for 82. She's great in all 3 of them. Varying roles from Vigilante, Amityville 2, and of course, Girls Night Out. So she's just an underrated actress, and she was one of those ones that I seen 100 times before I registered who the hell she was. And I was like, oh, this lady's in everything. It's just one of those, hey, it's that guy. And just good movie, good cast.
She's another one who is very accessible at conventions, a sweetheart, happy to talk about anything and everything. I think that, some of us who attend a lot of conventions, we get sort of jaded, and we forget that these are real opportunities to connect with some of our idols. And I've had the pleasure of having some nice conversations with Rutanya Alda, who, as you said, she's in everything from fucking The Dark Half to Rappin'. I watched her Rappin', and she was in Rappin'. I'm like, what is she doing here?
She's rapping.
She was.
And she made this out right on the heels of surviving Making Mommy Dearest, which was probably my favorite.
Right.
Yeah.
My number 5 is already been mentioned, but it is higher on someone else's list. It is the classic Lucio Fulci New York Ripper. Had to have it, so I guess we'll move past that one and talk about it later. Back to the top of the list with number 4 for Troy.
Well, I mean, it seems to me this is inevitably going to be on somebody else's list. Maybe not, but I picked George Romero's Creepshow.
It is on, I think it was on Bruce's list already, and it is higher on someone else's list as well. So, definitely. Nathaniel, you're number 4?
Ditto.
Okay. And it is higher again some otherwhere. So, Bruce?
I'm just shocked that Art has Creepshow's number 1. I would never guess that.
Loves it.
Hey, look, I took a picture at that fluffy mural before just about anybody. Like, I heard about it and I was there within minutes.
So my number 4, I don't know if it'll be on anybody else's list, but I secretly hope it is. The German film Der Fan, aka The Fan, aka Trance.
It is not.
What the hell, people? This is my art.
Almost.
This is my art. This is my Art Ettinger moment of what are you people thinking? Jesus Christ!
You're not wrong, and I'm ashamed of myself. That is a great
That's a great
So
movie.
yeah, it's really it's funny because it's readily available, but it still is one of those movies that seems criminally underseen. It's a really kind of hypnotic, harrowing look at teenage obsession and mental illness. It's about this young girl, this teenage girl who basically comes to believe that her and this rock star are meant to be together. So she'll essentially stop at nothing to try to meet this guy and make him believe that, you know, their destiny is to be together. And of course, reality isn't quite what she seems to think it is. Really just a kind of like messed up little movie. Great new wave soundtrack, a really good performance from the lead. Like I said, it's you know, the title Trance, that was its official English language release title, really kind of sums up the film, because it's one of those movies where if you get into its vibe, you're just kind of sucked in. You know, we did a full episode with Michelle Kisner and Duncan McLeish, and you know, I think Michelle had just seen it semi-recently, like within the last few years, and Duncan had just watched it, I think, right before the show. And both of them kind of had the same opinion that, you know, you start this thing and next thing you know, you're just completely enveloped in its world. So yeah, great film. You know, if you guys if you know, anybody watching this hasn't seen it, check out the Mondo Macabro Blu-ray. It's really a treat. I always, you know, I see on forums a lot that people will be watching this movie for the first time and they're just like, holy shit, where has this movie been? So yeah. So watch the movie and then watch us discuss it, because it's actually a really good episode too. I was very happy with the way that turned out.
And if you're a fan of George Buckley, like his whole career basically comes from this movie. Like I can't imagine he didn't take a lot of inspiration from this. It's very like necromantic and everything onward is straight out of this movie. Yeah.
The score. It's the biggest earworm of the year. Right when you said Der Fan, I was like, dun, 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 dun. It's great movie. If I was making an objective list, Poltergeist would be on there, but Der Fan would also be on the top 10. Like if we had to like make an accumulative list, like and argue like what's the actual best, I think Der Fan would make my list. But I'm trash, so I put Friday the 13th 3 instead.
Yeah, like we said, it's a tough year. I mean, it's, you know, there's only 10 we can choose. My initial, you know, you sent us that list of, you know, 280 films or whatever that you were originally, you know, culled down to your 1982 horror list. And, you know, when I chopped that down to potentials, it was like 30 movies and then had to pick, you know, 10 out of that. So yeah, it's a very tough year, a lot of competition. But yeah, Der Fan definitely makes my list.
Art, number 4?
Well, you tell me. This is probably the highest it is on anybody's list. I think it was on other lists, though, which is Q, the Winged Serpent.
Yep.
So it's higher on someone else's list?
No, it's good.
Oh,
Art's the highest.
So Q, the Winged Serpent, again, we just did a whole episode on it, also with Michelle Kisner. And I mean, we you guys are like creme de la creme. There's like very few people involved in DVD Blu-ray commentaries that are anywhere near on your level, but yeah, there are a handful of other people who I also am quite fond of, and Michelle's one of them. Stephen Thrower, of course, Amanda, of course, but you guys are the best of the best as well. The Q, the Winged Serpent is just like one of Larry Cohen's best. He really, this is like a great period of time in this filmmaker's career, because he's sort of like pissed off that his studio stuff isn't going so well. The Jury opened the same day in New York City as Q, the Winged Serpent, and he was thrilled that Q was the hit and The Jury tanked. I mean, not that The Jury is not an interesting film in its own right. People should certainly see it. We already talked about Michael Moriarty earlier. It's so interesting to think that originally he wanted Eddie Murphy in the Jimmy Quinn role. He had seen Eddie Murphy and he kind of discovered him. He saw him as a stand-up and he's like, this guy's going to be huge. He was right, of course. But Moriarty, like from his scat scene. And we're not talking poopy, we're talking scat on the piano. Um, just like, and then of course uh, Cohen paying tribute to his blaxploitation roots by having Richard Roundtree in the cast. The whole scene where Moriarty is making his demands, where he wants to have his ass kissed on national television, and it's just hilarious. But what's incredible about this movie is just how tightly edited it is. It's like so quippy. It has a lot of exposition, but the dialogue is always snappy, entertaining. It's gory. The you know the way the creature looks is, the other stop motion hit of the year is Basket Case, of course, but just what a fun movie, and again, kind of an underseen movie. Like I have a lot of Larry Cohen movies. When asked what's my favorite Larry Cohen movie, I'm like, well, and I have like this whole list, which is Bone, Black Caesar, Hell Up in Harlem, It's Alive, God Told Me to, Q, Full Moon High, Perfect Stranger, Special Effects, and the stuff. And it's still only a fraction of his filmography, right? But those are my favorites. Yeah, this movie, like, kind of falls by the wayside. I think people see the box art or the poster art, and it's a monster movie, which is only one thing going on in this film. It's just really a character study, and Moriarty at his very best. This and the stuff. I cannot wait till I get my mail on Monday to get to watch this extended version of the stuff, which is sitting in my mailbox. But I digress. Q, also known as Q the Winged Serpent, definitely just a fine film that I stand by. Some of these movies on my list, like Trick or Treats, admittedly just have a special place for me because I have, my own sensibility. But Q is brilliant filmmaking and deserves more accolades than it gets.
Yeah, it was my number 10. I think Michael Moriarty really pushes this one over for me. And the one thing I can say, what an actor's performance, a compliment that I think is one of the best, is when you say, I know that guy. I met a guy exactly like him. He's so real that I know he's like an amalgamation of two real people I know. He does the ticks and the movements and stuff, and he's absolutely hilarious and like haunted. And it's a weird tone movie, but it's perfect in the sense mixing that gritty New York with that like kind of reoccurrence of the 50s that was happening big time in the early 80s. So it's like it fits perfect in that time. Just my favorite line, I think, is like, get Rupert Murdoch down here, get a picture with me with his arm around him. I love that scene so much, just the way it is, and you can tell it's just probably improvised, like completely. Like he's just doing what off the cuff, which is perfect. What Eddie Murphy would have been perfect too. Like it's just one of those guys that it's like you have to harness their energy, and he's 100%. If you can't harness Michael Moriarty, you're gonna get some garbage. You can't harness Bill Murray or Eddie Murphy. You're going to get some weird shit. You're going to get something bad if you cannot harness these guys right, because it's just so much energy and everything like that. But it's just a great movie. It is very fast paced, and it just doesn't slow down. It's a good mixture, smorgasbord of different genres that I love. So it's a great movie. Q.
Yeah, it was another one that was on my runner-ups list. Didn't quite make the cut for me, although you guys did inspire me that I do need to pull it for a rewatch. It's been years since I watched it, and it has always been one that I enjoyed. But yeah, didn't quite make the cut for me.
I think we're on number 4s, right?
Yes.
So my number 4 been on everybody's list except one person so far, and I think it is the highest here. So we're going to talk about Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. So it's my number 4, Tommy Lee Wallace movie. Great movie, part kind of like a mystery Quatermass kind of style thing. But I'll let you guys go ahead and take it away. Whoever wants to talk about it first.
This was absolutely, definitively the second horror movie I saw from start to finish. It's not on my list, but I do adore it. And as a child, and I'm talking a child, third grade, this jingle, 8 more days to Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. It's just like, talk about an earworm. Atkins is great. The masks are great. The premise is great. I hadn't seen the first two to be pissed off about what was going on. I just was inundated with it because it was 1983 and it was on cable all the time. And what a fun premise. What a great idea. And let's get these kids these masks and sit them down in front of the TV and see what happens.
Donald Cochran, one of the great horror villains of the 1980s. Dana Hurley is fantastic in it. It's one of my favorite John Carpenter scores too. I have to say, I adore the score for this movie, especially there's a track called "Chariots of Pumpkins," which is I just think a wonderful earworm. I love the score. There are, a couple of things here and there that are maybe fall a little bit shy of brilliance, but overall, it's a really clever film. Very much indebted to Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but also, well, you mentioned Quatermass, and of course, Nigel Neal was originally involved in writing the film. He was not happy with it. He took his name off of it. That was not a happy collaboration or experience, but I mean, I think it's a really solid film. Obviously, Tommy Lee Wallace learned a lot of lessons from watching John Carpenter and, paid attention to his sense of how to use the camera and framing and the widescreen and everything else. And he did a good job with this. And later on, also, I think with Fright Night 2, which I also am very fond of. So, yeah, it's a good film.
Do I have to fucking watch Fright Night 2 and
Fright Night
Poltergeist
2's
3
awesome.
now?
Fright Night 2's
Do
awesome.
it.
Damn it.
Yeah, I also stand by Fright Night too.
I saw it one time and I didn't like it. God damn you guys. So I have
Oh,
to
the
watch
biter on the
Poltergeist
neck,
3.
asshole.
I'm going to watch Fright Night 2 and Poltergeist 3 because Troy told me to.
Reconvene.
For Halloween 3, though, it's been kind of special. I don't know if you guys remember in the early days of the internet when IMDb first started, but for the first few years, Halloween 3 was regularly smack in the middle of their bottom 100 as far as movie rankings go, which always outraged me. I was like, what is wrong with you people? It shows you how stupid people used to be.
Right.
But seeing
Still
like the
stupid.
tide change, it
Well,
took
it's still
so
hard.
long. Yeah, but like eventually people realized like what a work of genius this movie is. So yeah, it's been really special. I think like especially the last couple generations who have discovered it have really like been like on its wavelength. But yeah, I never understood the hate for this one. I remember when it first came out, and I thought when it hit cable, I finally saw it on HBO and I loved it. And I was like, so what is that, Michael Myers? Who gives a shit? It's so much fun. It's
Right.
just, it really.
I mean, if
really,
that would have worked, and you would have just gone with that concept that Carpenter had of just use the Halloween title and just have separate stories, that could have been so wonderful. We could have had more things like this instead of just endless Xeroxes of the original.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I did rewatch it. It made, where did I stick it? I stuck it number 9 on my list, but again, it could have also been number 5. It's just a really good movie, and like Nathaniel said, it's one that I've been really happy to see this sort of reappraisal that's happened over the past few decades. Because when we were growing up, everybody was just shitting on it left and right, and I was always just kind of like, why? It's such a weird, funky little movie, just a bizarro storyline. I don't necessarily think everything in it holds together. I don't think the climax is quite as exciting as it should be, especially given all the mystery that kind of builds up to it. I think they did kind of paint themselves in a corner a few times and just sort of, just weaseled their way out of it. Like with the whole, there is that question of how they got that, how they stole one of the stones from Stonehenge, and they're kind of just like,
story,
right? You'll never believe how we did that one, and then they just move on. It's just like, what?
They acknowledge it,
I
though.
love that.
yeah.
You got to acknowledge the bullshit to get
It's
away
really
with the
funny,
bullshit.
right?
He was driving perfectly well last night, right? Like that's another acknowledge the bullshit to get away with it.
Right. But it is, I just rewatched it a couple days ago just to try to, as I was trying to figure out some of the placement of some of these movies on my list. And yeah, it's still just a really good time. Really kind of some jarring violence in that. Like I feel like the violence in the movie is actually a little bit, obviously it wasn't Hong Kong inspired, but it feels like that sort of like black magic level of just sort of all these bugs and snakes crawling out of these people, and it's really mean violence. Like the guy breaks that woman's the bridge of her nose where he just grabs it and pulls and breaks her skull, and then like they rip the head off that guy in the junkyard or whatever. The violence is really hard hitting for that movie, especially in 1982. I'm actually kind of shocked that it got away with some of that stuff because it's really nasty stuff. But yeah, solid, great film.
And the last scene is like the most nihilistic ending of any movie that year. I mean,
right?
Jesus.
It's a lot of nihilism in
Tank.
82 still. 82 might be the last nihilistic year from like carryover from the 70s. You know what I mean? Living Dead Girl has a real nasty, sad one too.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, best villain of the year probably for sure. A prank on the children. You're like, what the? He's the only man who could have played Mr. Burns. I swear to God. Perfect Mr. Burns. Shoe home
Right.
for Mr. He would have killed it. Perfect.
But Stephen King would have preferred if Jack Nicholson. I'm kidding.
Stephen King also. People are. I love Stephen King.
Oh,
I know he did a
definitely.
lot
Same,
for the horror,
same.
but Stephen King's taste in movies is kind of dog shit. He's like, the remake of Dawn's better than the original. Like, Stephen, I know you just saw the movie, but let's just look at it again. Like, you know, it's just stuff like that. It's just like a whatever. Who's next? We're back to the top of the list with Art's number 3, right?
I think this might be the highest that it is, but you tell me. The New York Ripper.
It's tied with someone else, so it's Nathaniel's number 3 as well, right?
That's
Oh
fine.
no, Troy, yeah. You guys can just talk about it.
I mean, we did a whole show on the New York Ripper. New York Ripper is just it's just such a beloved film. It's one of my favorite Fulci movies. It was one of the 5 that was readily available on VHS for me when I was first exploring the work of Fulci. And I think when we did our Fulci episode, I was talking about how our New York Ripper episode, about how I was so much of a sucker that I was going to buy the doll, which I did, which just arrived recently. And I'm not going to show all the parts, but it has like replaceable duck head, and I couldn't help myself. And I don't collect toys. Like I have to draw the line somewhere. You know what I mean? Like I collect everything else, but like a New York Ripper doll, like come on.
Right.
But I think we adequately described why this movie is such an important film, and not just the Fulci pantheon, but just cinema in general. And you know, if I had to pick a favorite Squartatore, it would be the New York Ripper. That's my favorite. So
Well, we were talking about nihilism. I mean, this is pretty bleak too, and the ending of this film is very dark. I mean, really, really super dark. So, yeah, I think it's an amazing film. It's often, you know, not to be too redundant, we did a very in-depth episode, but to this day, it's still trashed by a lot of people as misogynistic and, you know, all this other buzzwords that people like to throw around. But the reality of it is a lot more complex and much more nuanced. And yeah, I think it's a terrific piece of work.
Yeah, it didn't make my list, but it's a tough year. You know, it was definitely on my runner-up. You know, like you said, we had discussed it in depth. To me, it's not as easy of a watch as some of other, you know, Fulci's classics, which might be why I didn't put it in my top 10. But it's still a great film. You know, there's still a lot to love about it. So it's like I can't even talk shit about it. So
I'm not sure what it says about me, but for some reason I find this movie weirdly easy to watch. I don't know why that is. Like, I think because I've loved it since I saw it on VHS, but there's something strangely comforting about it in a weird way. I don't, and it shouldn't be like at all. It makes no rational sense.
that's funny.
But yeah, for some reason I can throw it on anytime, and like something about it just really clicks with me.
I mean, the sheer insanity of what you're seeing on screen is just enough to have to watch it a couple times, right? Yeah, I mean, it's not my top Fulci movies, but it's one of the best Fulci movies, I think. At least just one of the craziest too. And just that mixture, I love New York, man. I love the New York feel, Fulci doing it. And most of his movies just have a scene in New York, right? Like they'll pop in New York, like Zombie or something, and then like, we're getting out of here now. But to have it made all in there and stuff, and it's just like a perfect sleazy 80s New York. One of the quintessential ones. Everything I love about it.
Probably is like my number 3 Fulci film, honestly. So it's high up there for me. Yeah, I don't know if I would say I find it fun, easy watch, but it definitely is a movie that I have no problem revisiting. I something about that grubby world I enjoy revisiting.
I hope Sal Corallo's balls are okay after he had to lean down to pick up that stick.
My balls!
My balls!
He's got a hernia or something. But you know what? I never really noticed a theme in there that I think it was Troy who pointed out about the idea that if you're not the best, you're worthless. You're just as bad as everybody else. And then like I started seeing that in other movies of his, like Murder Rock is that too. And I was like, oh shit.
Murder Rock is definitely
yeah. And I feel like that's how he felt, always being kind of second fiddle to Argento. You know what I mean? Like I'm not the best. I'm just as bad as the rest, you know?
Paranoia is calling. I would rather watch Murder Rock than like 99% of world cinema. Like that to me is, I hate the term comfort movie, but it is. It's a comfort movie. It's just a movie that like I could watch any day, puts a smile on my face. It's just God, it's movie magic. And people
One of
talk
my
smack
favorite
about
dialogue
it.
exchanges of all time. He's not a psycho, he's an asshole.
I used to make these mixtapes where I would have like lines from movies between songs because everything was hooked up to my stereo and my tape deck. So I'd be watching a movie that had a funny dubbed line, and I had that whole thing from the beginning of the movie where he's like, "And you just go on dancing, don't you?" Like, it's just a funny. He's like, "She's dead. Who cares? We'll just keep on dancing."
Yeah, I just rewatched Murder Rock a few weeks ago from with the Vinegar Syndrome UHD, and yeah, it holds up so good. It's so much fun. Great cast, gorgeous women. It's really stylishly shot, like probably a little more stylish than most of his stuff, honestly. But yeah, count me in on the Murder Rock Lovers Club.
It makes you get up and dance too. It's like I just watched Flashdance yesterday for the first time in a minute, and that's an underrated film. But that like inspiration onto Fulci, just like I can just picture Fulci watching Flashdance. Think about that, right? You know it happened, right? Just think about it. Just.
I made a mistake when I went back to the top of the list. It worked out for me because Troy and Art both had New York Ripper as their number 3, so you don't have to worry about it too much. But moving on to Nathaniel for his number 3.
All right. I can't imagine this isn't higher. So Basket Case.
We know it's higher, and we know the culprit for sure.
Had to be.
And then we're to Nathaniel for his. Bruce for his number 3.
My number 3 is another movie we all discussed that I love dearly. I think a few other people had mentioned it already. I don't know if anyone has any higher, but that would be Juan Piquer Simon's Pieces.
It is higher on someone's list. I bet you can guess who that is.
I like that.
Wait, is this his number 2? Is that your number 2?
That was my number 3.
Oh, okay.
And then we already did Art's number 3 with New York Ripper, and my number 3. I think it's the highest. Maybe it's tied with somebody here. Is George A. Romero, the best director of all time. Creepshow. This one I've seen. It's been with me for as long as I remember. Love anthology horror. Directly went on to inspire all that. Based on the EC comics, just 5 wonderful stories, and it doesn't always feel exactly like a lot of Romero stuff until you start breaking it down and watching the stories individually, and then you can see a little bit in there. It's just like the combination of 3 of the horror greats at the time of their height, Stephen King, George Romero, Tom Savini. Just a blast. Amazing. Great cast. In fact, one of the best cast of the year, to be honest. Besides one movie, I would put it as the best cast. And the John Harrison score, I think, is one of the most underrated scores. When people bring things up, it's been lifted and stolen from for years. From the opening skeleton there, just setting the thing. To me, this is what started my obsession with anthologies. Just a great film, one of my favorites.
Yeah, I love it.
Oh, go ahead, Troy.
Oh, I was going to say it was my number 4, so I love it. And I don't know maybe we should ask everybody what their favorite segment is, but mine is always going to be they're creeping up on you because of E.G. Marshall's extraordinary performance as this kind of Howard Hughes type of awful bigot. It still carries a lot of currency, but but they're all good. And it's funny because when I first saw the film as a kid, I liked it, but as a kid, I always found the Leslie Nielsen, Ted Danson story to be a real slog. And in recent years, I've grown to really like that one. So I don't think it's relatively rare for a horror anthology film to not have any bad stories. And for me, this is one of the few ones that manages to do that. I think they're all at least good. Jordy Verrill is going to be controversial for some people because of, the way Stephen King was directed to play that part. But I think it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree. This was one that I rewatched because we were doing an episode on it with our buddy Bob Tennell, who was actually a production assistant on the film. So I had mainly wanted to do that episode just to get some stories out of him. I thought it'd be a fun episode. But I sat down and rewatched it. I said, wow, this movie really is better than I remembered it. Like it, I always remembered liking it, but I didn't necessarily love it. But on this rewatch, I was like, there's really so much good stuff about this movie. I put it as number 7 on my list. I think my favorite segment would probably be the crate. I think that is the most sort of well-rounded story, and it's also really kind of messed up. It's probably like the most fucked up story in there, because essentially a guy is just murdering his wife for being annoying and gets away with it. So yeah, it's and I mean, Adrienne Barbeau's performance in that segment is unreal. She's so good in that. And I mean, Hal Holbrook, real actor, like really, just tell it to call you Billy, you bitch, and just it's so good. Like there's so much good about Creepshow, and it really, Dave had mentioned that it was inspired by EC Comics, and it's actually a better EC Comic adaptation, even though it's not from EC Comics, than any of the official EC Comics movies that had come before that. There really wasn't anything else like the style of Creepshow. As far as these comic book movies, I think during our episode we said, the closest sort of precursor we can come up with was sort of like the Batman TV series or something, of just these, bright color panels behind people and like bubbles and, things like that. So it was really, at the time, a really kind of like stylistically unique. And I think that just kind of adds to the specialness of it.
Yeah, I would add for the love for the crate. I think that's actually my favorite as well, largely because of Barbeau. But I this is a movie that oddly, it gets better every time I watch it, which is kind of strange. This is like one of the most rewatchable, I think, 80s horror movies. It's for some reason has these little treats that you just forget about and then rediscover. I know Bruce and I debated about this about maybe like a year ago. We were talking about it, but yeah, the one odd story out for me, and I still like it, is Jordy Verrill, though, just because it's not EC Comics at all, because he's not a bad guy. He just kind of gets crapped on for the whole story for doing nothing. But it's fun. I actually don't have a problem with Stephen King's performance. I think he's very enjoyable. But yeah, that's the one speed bump.
It's kind of like Twilight Zone. When you think about the famous Burgess Meredith story, where
like
why is he being punished? Or you could even go back to the Tales from the Crypt film that was made in the 70s. Where there's some stories there too, where you're kind of like, what's this guy getting punished for? I'm not entirely clear.
The monkeys fall one. You're like,
for. Yeah,
I don't understand.
What did he do? I don't understand why he's there.
Something that tied you over is my favorite story. Just endlessly quotable. Leslie Nielsen, just completely off his fucking rocker. Going when it hits that he's gonna drown, and he does. I can hold my breath a long time. Which I just realized that Dangerous Animals this year is very much, that whole movie is inspired by Leslie Nielsen's character in that Creepshow. But also every one of them has numerous quotes. Meteor shit. Just the last dinosaur can't find the fucking tar pit is one of my favorite lines. That I've kind of paraphrased, but that's just a mean line. I love that movie. Now Art hated it.
I don't hate. I mean, here's the thing. Like, I watched Creepshow kind of a lot as a kid, and I always sort of thought it always felt like a bit of a slog to me. Like, it has great moments in it, and I have very fond memories of seeing Creepshow 2 on opening weekend with a rowdy urban audience, and like really liking that movie, which now I can't even get through.
I like it.
Like, so
watch it again.
So,
me too.
Oh god.
Watch Creepshow 3. I don't like it, but
I'm not watching Creepshow 3. I will watch Poltergeist 3, and I will watch Fright Night 2. I'm not watching Creepshow 3. Here's the thing. A couple of years ago, here in Pittsburgh, they had a 40th anniversary theatrical screening of Creepshow. A whole lot of people involved in the production of Creepshow were present. Exciting event. These are really good people, dedicated their lives to this craft. And there's this new fluffy mural, which is super cool. Take photos in front of it. There's a lot iconic about Creepshow. So I go to the screening really with a positive attitude. Like, I'm thinking, I'm all grown up now. The movie can't be as much of a slog as I remember it being. And like, man, it did not play well for me. So it's just like, just personally, it just doesn't really connect. There's aspects of it that are great. Certain characters make for great Halloween costumes. I think we've all seen at conventions people cosplaying the Moss character. I don't even know the movie well enough to fucking be able to. Well, you know what I'm talking about. But we'll call it the Moss character.
You remember the Moss character?
I have a those the fanboys call them glass case. I have a glass case Creepshow beta tape from Japan, and it's a Not Next rental. It even has like a little comic book that comes with it, and it's autographed by a bunch of people involved with Creepshow. Like I've like had some connections to this movie since childhood. It's just like I could lie and be like, "Oh, Creepshow is the greatest thing ever," or I could be true to myself and true to my taste and just admit that like sometimes a movie doesn't connect that might connect with a whole lot of other people. I'm sure you all have some classic horror film that just doesn't connect with you, and one of them for me is Creepshow. I appreciate what they were trying to do and the respect and the respect for EC Comics, and even just like I don't know if I knew what EC Comics were before Creepshow. Maybe I mean it's dead, so that's an important aspect of it. But whatever, it's just not for me.
Well, I can't believe we've been talking this long about it without mentioning Ed Harris's Disco Dancing in the Saran Wrap jeans.
Of course.
Like the greatest things ever.
No arguments there.
Yeah, it's a high point. Is Creepshow 2? Do I have to rewatch that? I don't know.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
all right.
It's good. It's
Oh,
good. I
my
like
God.
all the stories in Creepshow 2. Watch it again
Oh.
or go suck a dick. Whatever you want to do.
I'll watch Creepshow. I will watch Creepshow 2 again. I will not watch Creepshow 3. Is that fair?
That is
enough.
fair.
I never even saw Creepshow 3. I saw part with the hot dog, and I said, I'm good. I got it.
Yeah.
I got what's going on here. But got to mention the Tom Atkins opening. It's like God made fathers, babe. It's like also the
Best
horror
movie
game.
Tom Atkins ever appeared in. Go.
Night of the Creeps.
What?
For him. Best performance he ever did, Night of the Creeps.
Best performance, yeah.
Yeah, I might agree.
It's the New Kids. That's the answer.
I mean, he's barely in that movie.
Right.
I said ever appeared in. Best movie he ever appeared in, and the answer is the New Kids.
Creeps is better than New Kids. It might be
love
Creepshow.
Creeps. I
Might be
love Night of the Creeps, but the New Kids is better than all of them.
The Fog.
Ooh.
Nathaniel.
Love The Fog. It's not his best performance, but it's the best movie he's in. To me.
Possibly. Yeah.
Oh.
Trying to think of he's got to be he's in Ninth Configuration. He's in Lethal Weapon. He's in a lot of big movies. So
Sure.
Yeah, Lethal Weapons, no New Kids.
He's a Pittsburgher.
where are we at? I know I'm completely fucking lost. We just did Creepshow, and that was the highest on mine. So are we back to the top? I'm corrected. Back to number 2 for Troy.
We're in number 2 round, starting with Troy.
All right.
Only number 2 for me is Dario Argento's Tenebrae. I don't know
is
if anybody
higher.
has it higher.
Oh.
One person, yeah, which
Wow.
is kind of crazy to me.
It's
but yeah,
someone's
it's
number
awesome.
1.
Yeah.
All right, that was my number 8, and I'm very happy it's someone's number 1.
Tenebrae was also my number 2.
Tenebrae is also my number 2, so we'll get that all over with. And
So
Nathaniel,
elimination tells us something.
Right.
what is your number 2, Nathaniel?
My number 2, and I don't want to steal Art's thunder, so I'm not going to talk about John Carpenter's masterpiece, The Thing.
Yeah. All right. So I think The Thing actually. Well, let me check. No, that's the only one it made on the. No. Okay, we'll move on.
Wait. So, what was Art's number 2?
We're getting to Art's number 2 right now.
Oh, okay.
Wait, we didn't get to Bruce's number 2.
My number 2 was also Tenebrae.
Tenebrae.
Oh, yeah, you said that. My number 2 is Pieces. It's exactly what you think it is. And we did a wonderful episode on it. I don't know how much more we can say about Pieces, but
We did.
it's fucking movie magic. Can we agree?
Yes. Pieces made my number 3. Again, just one of my favorite 80s slasher movies. There's nothing about the movie I would change. It is absolutely absurd and ludicrous, hilarious, gory, nonsensical, trashy. Every adjective you can think of, just throw at it because it's that.
I made a factual error on our episode. Really nerdy. I just want to make a quick correction.
Did you screw up? Did you screw up the amount of theater seats at a New York theater?
Listen, buddy. So one of the big things is there's all these discrepancies between how many screens it opened on, etc. Because a lot of the time ads would not include actual grindhouses. And I was confused, and I thought it opened at the Rialto in its second week, because it makes no sense that it would play at the United Artists Rivoli and the Rialto, which were almost next door to each other. But in fact, it did open on both of those theaters. So that's for anyone who cares about that kind of shit. That was a big factual error on my part, and a really odd fact. I mean, we're talking, if you know the city, we're talking, these theaters were around the corner from each other. So Pieces was that big that an opening weekend, you had two giant theaters just full of people having a blast with Pieces. That's cool. So, but that's my factual error from the episode. But we did a nice job, and I thought that episode was a whole lot of fun. And the YouTube poster who had a negative comment to say about me can suck my ass. Can suck my ass 10 times. What the fuck has he, she, or they done? But they can suck my ass.
Or no.
Was it the one comment that said these like character back sheets or whatever, or these actor back sheets are boring, and then he started that guy.
Yeah. Fuck that guy.
At least it was somewhat clever. Like sometimes
it was
people are
funny
just
as
so
hell.
rude. Some
Funny
people
as
are
hell.
so rude. They're just
Funny
like,
as hell. No, I've gotten
those aren't even worth
I've gotten a couple of really negative comments, and you know, it's the price we pay for being in the public eye.
Yeah.
For the record, I totally liked that comment. I just want to point that out. It made me laugh.
Good. It's
That's
all
all it
good.
did.
It's all good. Pieces fucking rules, though, man.
It so does.
I think it was on Bruce's and Nathaniel's list as well.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't on everybody. It wasn't on Troy's list.
No, it wasn't on me or Troy's list.
You didn't have Pieces on your top 10.
I
It
know,
came
I love
close. It came close.
Hey,
It's-
it's all
it's
good. It's all
It's
good.
written down with my honorable mentions down here. Unfortunately, I
I only have
it.
one.
It's
I only
fun.
have one honorable mention now. You guys did a good job with your list.
No, I only have one that hasn't been mentioned too so far.
Yeah.
So hopefully, maybe I can throw in a couple ones. Yeah, but it's a great movie. I mean, how can you not enjoy it? I mean, it's a great cast too. Just insane, weird, and some of the most violent kills you'll see. It's what people think the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is.
It's exactly what they think the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah. So are we at number ones now?
Number ones.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I think we're at number ones. We'll go back up to Troy.
Well, I mean, obviously it's on other people's lists. I know it's on Art's list. But it is definitely a number one for me is John Carpenter's The Thing. I don't know. Should I talk about it or not?
Yeah, go ahead. It's also me and Bruce's number one. So
Okay. Well, now this is a movie that I can tell you when I first saw it back in the 80s on TV, the old days of pan and scan VHS and everything else, I did not like it one bit.
Huh.
I found it boring, basically. It just did nothing for me. It didn't really come to life for me until I finally was able to see it in widescreen. I think that was probably the Laserdisc that came out. So that was the first time I was able to really kind of appreciate what a beautifully crafted film it was. And it was just one of those movies that over time, I just came to realize, my God, everything in this movie works from my point of view. Now, obviously not everybody's going to agree with that, but it was such a powerful film. On the one hand, yes, it's a big special effects showcase, but it's also dealing with really interesting questions about like the self and everything else, and this sort of element of paranoia. It has one of the great ensemble casts, I think, just an amazing, faultless group of actors. John Carpenter is one of my absolute filmmaking heroes, so to speak. He's somebody whose work I love. I've written a book about him. This is his masterpiece as far as I'm concerned. This was his best film. As we know, it was not warmly received. We did an episode on this with Michelle Kisner, so I'll cede the floor, but I think this is one of those like perfect films.
Yeah, I am 100% in agreement. Number one for me as well. Absolutely perfect film. I first saw it as a kid. Our local UHF station, Channel 54 in Baltimore, actually played it more or less uncut. They essentially bleeped out the cuss words, but all of the gore was there. And as a child, I mean, that stuff blew me away. Now, obviously, it wasn't until years later, because as a kid, all I cared about was gore. It wasn't until years later you start to appreciate just the story and the characters, and the situations that they find themselves in, and just how truly good and well put together the whole thing is. It keeps you guessing up until it doesn't, and then even the ending, is still. It's not a movie that feels it needs to spell everything out for you. It expects some intelligence from its audience. But yeah, absolutely perfect filmmaking. Love the film.
Yeah,
I mean, it's honestly not even just on my top 10 of 1982 list. It's on my top 10 movies of all time list. So, yeah.
Definitely in my top 10 horror movies of all time as well. And I'm a big sucker for actors, and this is one of the ones you watch where every actor is doing his best at his craft, no matter how small the lines are. They don't overact, they don't overdo it. And putting Kurt Russell at the center of that was kind of perfect. I mean, I think it was the one that made him kind of just like forever love Kurt Russell after that. But from the soundtrack is amazing, the way it's set up. I have zero complaints about the movie, honestly, and it's one that I sit and think about. I was like, what happened here? How does this work? And it's truly terrifying to me because when I actually get scared of things, it's usually science fiction, the idea, because it's so close to reality at times. You're like, well, what if that happened? And it's very much in line with the Quatermass movies, which always kind of blew my mind when I saw what was happening and try to examine. It's just, I don't have that much to say about it. I mean, I said so much about it in the video too beforehand. I just have no complaints about it. Could quote it all day. Amazing music, probably the best special effects showcase of all time. And it comes down to that classic line that it was Howard Hawks, right? Or was it? It was Howard Hawks who said a great movie or something along that line is 3 great scenes and no bad scenes, and that's what I think with The Thing. And it's fitting, obviously, being kind of a redone version of the Howard Hawks produced movie. But yeah, excellent movie.
Which itself is one of the greatest movies of the 50s.
Yeah, it's a good movie. All the source material is great too.
Yeah, I was going to say, so it just kind of shows just how great the original source material is. The fact that you can make 2 different movies and they're both the peaks of their sort of genres and times.
There's even another, it's not an adaptation, but it's kind of an adaptation. It's an uncredited one, but one of the supremely entertaining horror films of the 70s is Horror Express. That has definitely some of that DNA in there. So, I mean, that's one of those movies I could watch once a month for the rest of my life and never tire of. So, I mean, it does adapt itself very well. And there's a great TV horror film from the 70s, which I would dearly love to see get a decent release, called A Cold Night's Death, which is a beautiful, again, sort of study in paranoia with Robert Culp and Eli Wallach. So yeah, I mean, it's good material.
I've never seen that, Troy.
Me neither.
Do I watch that before or after Poltergeist 3?
You should watch it after you watch Creepshow 3.
You've never seen Cold Night's Death? Really?
I haven't, no.
I haven't either.
The thing is sometimes I think I haven't seen something, and then I like, and then I have. So I'm saying I haven't seen it. When I start watching it, maybe I have.
I was going to say, if Nathaniel, if you don't have that on your Plex, I am officially making a Plex request.
That happens to me a lot, where I think I'm going to watch something that I haven't seen before. That happened most recently with Phase 4. I don't know what I thought Phase 4 was, but I'm like, oh, it's this thing? I've seen this.
So, well, Bruce, after you watch it, the story I told you a while back about the brownies and A Cold Night's Death will make a lot more sense once you've seen the movie, but I'll fill you in later.
Do you want to talk a little bit about The Thing? It was your 2, Nathaniel?
Yeah, that was my number 2. And yeah, well, I'll when we get to my number 1, I'll explain why it was a tough choice. But yeah, well, first of all, I would say this has much more than 3 good scenes going by the Howard Hawks.
I know, but it's just that.
I mean, but yeah, this is like nonstop good scenes. But yeah, this was the other movie from this year that's on our list that I saw first run in the theater, and actually my dad take me to go see it again because I loved it so much. It blew my mind, and I was like a voracious Famous Monsters reader at the time, and Fangoria had just started kicking off, so I was already hyped for this. But I had no idea that this was a bomb for a long time because I was a little kid. I mean, like again, a 9-year-old doesn't look at the box office reports. I just thought it was amazing. Same with Blade Runner, actually, and I just had a blast. This was also the first movie where I realized how severely movies got doctored for television, because about a year later it popped up on CBS, and I was like sitting there watching it, and this was the infamous one where they added like fake Kurt Russell narration over it and the ending with the dog, and I was like, this is not the movie I saw. What happened? What is this? And it would still come on HBO, so I had to go back and watch the original to make sure I wasn't going insane, just because it was so radically different. But yeah, this yeah, just it is a perfect film, and again, the one of my favorite scores. Yeah, and then Rob Bottin, I think, is just a legend for his work on this film. Just absolutely off the charts, brilliant. Yeah, perfect film.
Now, one of us here ain't who he says he is.
Is that a man in there or something?
No, I'm just making art right here.
Let's wait here and see what happens.
I will keep my remarks on John Carpenter's Thing brief. So I have tried for many years to connect with this movie. Like Troy, I first saw it as a child and was bored by it. And so I watched it again and I was bored by it. And then I watched it again and I was bored by it. And then people are talking about it like it's the greatest movie ever made. And I finally get a chance to see it in 35 millimeter, giant theater, single screen theater. This is my chance. I'm going to connect with this movie. All these people can't be wrong about The Thing. And boy, I sure did not connect with it yet again. My most favorable viewing of it was the most recent one. I tried to watch it with new eyes and ears, and man, like the gore scenes sure are brilliant, and but it's a movie about male bonding in the snow, and it's Jaws in Antarctica, and
Wait,
I mean,
who is
it's-
bonding in this
you're
movie?
not you're not the people. You're
Bonding?
not.
What?
I think
Yeah.
I think what's that? Go ahead.
I was
What?
gonna, yeah, nobody's really bonding so
There's
much.
no
in this.
bonding at all in this
It's
movie.
kind of, it's,
That's
They're all
the
best
point.
buddies.
That's the point. It's about masculinity and it's about men's inability to get along, etc. It's about like what happens if you put a bunch of dudes together. Like by design, there's no women, right? Like, so you're not the people I'm talking about when I get to either of the following 2 points. I've already kissed your asses enough through this presentation. You are like very knowledgeable, hardcore fans of cinema in general. You know it a lot. You're not like, but like one of the things that irritates me to no end is this knee-jerk follower simp like anti-remake thing that you hear. So many horror fans just, whoa, how can this? How can you remake that? 9.9 out of 10 of those people's like favorite movie is The Thing. Number two, when I hear a like horror fan diss the kind of movies that I gravitate towards, when I hear someone like say that Last House on the Left and I Spit in Your Grave are amateurish, and they say it like it's fact, like they say it like these are like cheap bad movies. That person, like you can almost guess that their favorite movie is the very Hollywood John Carpenter's The Thing, or Dawn of the Dead. Those are the two movies that are probably one of those two is their favorite movie. So I have a chip on my shoulder, admittedly, about The Thing. Even the score is kind of weird given who's behind it, but there's certainly great performances. It has an excellent ensemble cast, and the gore scenes are great. It's just a movie I haven't connected with. And I feel as though when I do have like adversaries in the scene, people who like particularly dislike what I gravitate towards, like someone who's going to say like Pieces is garbage, just might have The Thing as their number one movie of '82. Not you guys, but I think you know where I'm going with this. So I just over the years I just don't get it. Like I don't like you guys are helping me understand the two to an extent. Why this movie connects for you, but just doesn't connect for me. It doesn't make it. For me, it's just a Hollywood misstep with some great gore scenes. It could have been a much more interesting movie. It bores me just like it did when I was a child. So,
Have you
Sorry.
finished?
Troy.
All right, we're gonna
Wait,
boot him off the call.
not all movies can be.
Hey, let's boot him
Poltergeist
off
3.
the call. We're gonna
Not
get him
all
out of here.
movies can be Poltergeist 3, Troy. Okay.
They can be Poltergeist too.
I'm just happy it wasn't number one for all of you. Thank you, Nathaniel.
that was surprising to me, but
Not every film can have the brilliant pacing of Anthropophagus. I'm sorry.
this is true.
Right,
This is true.
Anthropophagus. Howling is so slow, but Anthropophagus.
Ugh. All right, so Nathaniel's number one film.
Shocker. My number one, my all-time favorite director. This is the first film of his I ever saw. I love this movie. I really wrestled even before I was setting the list today. I kind of wrestled over my jockeying between my 1 and 2, but I really had to go with Tenebrae for my number one because it just had such a huge impact on me, and it literally changed the way that I watch movies after I discovered it, and it set me on a whole course devouring all this stuff. But yeah, we did a whole episode on this film. I don't know what else I could say about it, but yeah, again, this is just an endless treasure chest. Like every scene in this movie, I love. Endlessly quotable, just style to burn. Has some of like the greatest shots I think of any Giallo ever. Argento's Giallo track record is phenomenal. I mean, if I had to pick between this and like Deep Red, I don't know. It's a tough one, but this really is like the epitome of what a Giallo should be in Italian horror. This is just way up there. Just an absolutely perfect film. One of my favorite scores. Some of just the camera work alone would probably make this number one for me. Yeah. What else can you say? Yeah, this is like an absolute 10 out of 10 Giallo for me.
Look like a turkey at Christmas time. It is my number 2 Argento of all. Deep Red is my number 1 solidly, but Tenebrae is not far behind. Yeah, we did the show, so you can listen to us babble on about it. It's one of the relatively few Argento films Nathaniel and I haven't had the opportunity to do a commentary for, which, curses maybe someday, but probably not. Given the track record this movie's had on video at this point. It's an amazing film. I love it, and every time I get a chance to mention it, I always like to mention how wonderful I think Anthony Franciosa is in that film. How perfectly cast he is. We've all heard the stories about, they were looking at Christopher Walken. It's like, no, I like Christopher Walken, but not for that. Franciosa is wonderful, and still don't know how the hell they did that scene on the expressway in New York with him on the bicycle. That was insanity, but somehow they did it.
Yeah, and maybe most underrated John Saxon performance too. I think
he's great in it. Yeah.
So funny.
So yeah, it was number 2 on my list, but it could have just as easily been number 1. It's my favorite Argento film. It's my favorite Giallo. It's just, like you guys said, a perfect film. Amazing driving score. Its twists are earned. I think it's possibly one of Argento's most tightly scripted movies. Something where I feel like the script 100% works. Like everything in it just feels so like it had a purpose. Savage murders, literally painting the walls red at times. Just an absolutely perfect film. Absolutely love it.
The brilliance of how Argento gets to make comments about his critics throughout the movie. Yeah. And then he's so playful that he's like, you know what? I'm the killer. You're like, oh my God, he is the man. And I love Anthony Franciosa. Like, I remember, when we did it, Nathaniel was doing like a book. When he snaps, man, at the end is brilliant. Because, he's a guy you don't want to see snap. Because he doesn't, he's like, you know what I mean? He almost has like that fatherly, like he's a masculine man. Like, you don't see that big Italian guy, like, just breaking down and fucking snapping like that. It's horrifying. A lot of weird sexual politics in there, too, that are kind of ugly at times, which are also interesting in the movie. It's got John Steiner in there in his most unhinged and hilariously weird performance. John Saxon's also one of my favorite people. And I didn't really grow to love Giuliano Gemma until I saw a lot of the Westerns. When I first saw Tenebrae, I didn't know who he was. But he's perfect in that movie too. Perfectly cast and incredibly mean-spirited movie. Again, another one with a really dark ending where rare that they kill that much of a cast off like that. And just awesome. Just screaming. And the classic ending of who will be alive and what's left of them. The Texas Chainsaw little trailer stinger at the end with her just screaming, it's a great movie. It's it's my favorite Argento. And I think it's a masterpiece. I think The Thing's a masterpiece. And I think those two are just clear cut above the rest of the movies. Although I give some of them 5 stars, they're not nearly as good as Tenebrae or The Thing.
Right.
Perfect.
Yeah. I mean, Pieces is a solid 10 to me as well, but it's not Tenebrae and it's not The Thing, right?
Yeah.
Right, and that's where it comes down to personal preference versus, what's the best movie. This was number 8 on my list. It's a true masterpiece, though. It's also my favorite Argento. It's one of the first I saw. I rented it as Unsane, which came out on VHS, thinking when I was in 6th or 7th grade. And, it's just a powerful, powerful film, and it's just masterfully edited. The gore scenes are incredible. I recently helped out with Mondo Macabro's release of Ava Man. And I think this film is incredibly subversive in its inclusion of Ava Robbins, who was assigned male at birth. And, you have a lot of cis, straight, white males like me sitting there, jerking off to this and I didn't know anything about Ava Robbins until recently. A really captivating performer. And like, look, like, like I'm not trying to, it's not my place. I'm not trying to step on any toes or get political because, I think that's not, necessarily what we're going for here. But this, like, what's going on right now, this anti-trans legislation is just disgusting. I mean, like, there's like, there's times where I feel completely and totally confident that I'm on the right side of history, and this is one of those. It's like, get the fuck out of here. Like people need to wake up and just live and let live. This is America, goddammit, and let people be who they are. And I'm thankful that Argento, cleverly had young Art Ettinger jerking off to Ava Robbins as a boy. So that's what I have
do
to
think,
say. But
can I just add that I think that the trans argument going on now would be a lot more fun if instead of things like Orange is the New Black and Amelia Perez, we had more things like Eva Mann and Tenebrae and every Judah Wilson movie. Like,
right.
That's way more entertaining for me. I think that's the cause.
Emilia Perez was actually pretty fun, but I can't disagree.
You need to start bringing back villainous gay characters so they'll stop fucking with gay people. It's always like the lighthearted, nice ones. Nah, bring in that guy from Fire and Ice. Let's see if they stop. Where we at? Art's number one here.
So this is our last pick, right?
Our last movie.
Okay.
Wait, we did Bruce's number one already?
My number one was The Thing.
Oh.
My number one was also The Thing.
I just said that I don't collect toys. And here I am. We were at a convention not long ago, and these handmade fucking Belials with we're complete with a basket. I'm like, how much? So anyway, Basket Case, just one of those movies that just changed my life as a child. I rented it early in my VHS rental days, so 5th or 6th grade. The tape was everywhere, and Frank Henenlotter is an American treasure for so many reasons. I had the privilege of doing the longest ever print interview with him and meeting him and doing convention Q&As with him. He's very generous and just a great guy. We all adore him. But Basket Case has a sensibility all its own. Did a whole episode with Dave, and Michelle was the other person on it. And, there's not much more I have to say than I said on that episode, other than it is one of the great 80s gore comedies. I think there's only a handful of others that come anywhere near the power of Basket Case. And it's just like the most loving tribute to the Grindhouse era, and just a wonderful, wonderful, charming little movie that just had such a made such an impression on me as a kid. And I don't have any big words to describe my love for Basket Case. It's just really, to me, it was a no-brainer that was going to be the number one movie of the year. Is Tenebrae like more artful? Of course, but Basket Case really, just in my heart of hearts, it's my personal favorite of the year. And thank you, Frank Henenlotter, for everything you've done for cinema. You are the man.
Yeah, it was number 5 on my list. And yeah, it's just another one of those sort of like lovably quirky, crazed New York independence. There's just it has such a funny, bizarre sense of humor to it. The premise itself is just weird. You got this twin brother that looks like a wad of chewing gum running around, just ripping people to pieces. And how can you not like that? I mean, it's legitimately funny. It's just legitimately goofy and just really bizarre and quirky. So yeah.
This was my number 3, and again, it could have easily wedged higher depending on my mood. But probably my favorite thing about Basket Case is actually not the movie itself, but I remember as a little kid when this came out in theaters, it was released unrated, but they wouldn't let you in if you were underage. But I remember driving around like in my parents' station wagon as a kid, and like on the radio, they kept running the radio spots for this thing incessantly. But I kept hearing, Basket Case with a free surgical mask to keep the blood off your face, and I was just like, I have got to see this movie. So yeah, as soon as it hit VHS, yeah, you better believe I was like, because they didn't check IDs, they didn't care. So yeah, love Basket Case.
My number 6 just a movie that's been with me forever. It was one that I rented by the time I was old enough to rent them. I think the third one came out in what, 91. So I was about 5 or 6, and I kept seeing the 3 basket case. So it's like I eventually rented them all, watched all the basket cases, and the first one's clearly the best of the movies, and it's one of the 5 or 6 that immediately think New York City. I think basket case. You know, you're like New York City, basket case, Maniac. You know, just like the 3 or 4 New York Ripper. Those are like 3 top off the top, and they are basically all Abel Ferrara's movies too. But there's just something special about this movie, that it's such an oddball film about literally like kind of like what you would accept like a sideshow circus kind of thing. It is a revenge film, which is brilliant. It's also got a certain sense, I guess you would say, of camp, but it's also endlessly quotable with that line, "What's in the basket? My brother." You know, it's brilliant. It's rough around the edges, but it's what independent cinema should be still, I think. I think it's one of the unsung kind of independent horror films ever made. I think it's perfect.
Actually, my favorite line is "all alone, this cold, cruel."
That guy's
world."
such a drunk. That
best
poor
line.
guy actually got killed, like walking outside, he got hit by a car.
Yeah.
And
He got his moment of immortality. That is like one of the greatest celluloid moments ever. Yeah.
The guy ended up they went him to repeat the line in the special features. Remember that? And he didn't even remember it. He was all fucking it up. Frank's like, no, you had to correct him to do it again.
I remember when Basket Case 2 opened at my local multiplex. I was so fucking excited. I didn't expect it to, because it had played in New York City like a month prior. And there it was, opening in Buffalo at a General Cinema 8-screen multiplex the same day as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And in order to get to go, I had to convince my friend to go, and I had to agree. We like had a little treaty. I would watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and he would watch Basket Case 2. So we saw them back to back, and it was movie magic. A good day at the movies for sure. But Dave made a discovery in regards to Basket Case and Q, which we confirmed with Frank. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, it's pretty wild that, you know, I was watching Q, and I'm a good memorization of character actors and faces and everything like that, even if my memory fails me sometimes. But in Q, there's the diner scene where Michael Moriarty and David Carradine are sitting down talking, and he's trying to get him to confess where the Q's nest is. And there's this cop in the background, and I was like, boy, oh boy, doesn't that look like Powell? Robert Powell, I think's the actor's name from Basket Case, the guy who has the hotel, Broslin. And I was like, yeah, that looks so much like him. It's the right time. It's New York City. I'm sure that he's popping up in these. And I was like, I feel like that's him. So Art was like, I'll just ask Frank. And he came back and said, yeah, that is uncredited Robert Powell in Q the Winged Serpent as the kind of the police officer guarding Michael Moriarty and David Carradine when they eat lunch. Or drink coffee. Sorry about that. I'll pay for your coffee. Yeah. It's just a nice little fun thing that constantly learning. You're dead if you're not learning, Art. I learned something new that day.
It's like I discovered Louis De Jesus in American Tickler. I mean, now I added that to the IMDb immediately to try to help society. I give back, not just with my day job, but at that point, he was not, it was not known that he was in that movie. Sometimes you find someone in a movie and you have to share with the world. Like when Bruce and I found the character that David Hess calls Roots in House on the Edge of the Park, we found her, or he found her, in Concord 79. Concord Affair.
So before we get into statistics, I can brush over those pretty quick. Troy, did you have an honorable mention or two that hasn't been mentioned or anything like that?
Most of the ones that were kind of close for me have been mentioned. Pieces, of course, Alone in the Dark. Some of those types of things have been mentioned. I wouldn't.
Why no Basket Case, Troy?
I don't want to be Mr. Art Ettinger. I don't want to sit here and piss on somebody's favorite movie. I'm not going to go that route. I'm going to take the high road, my friend. I'm going to take the high road. I'm just going to sit that out. One movie that does say it all. One that I don't think is a great film, but I do think it's better than it often gets credit for, is Manhattan Baby. I'm rather fond of Manhattan Baby. I think it would be a much better film with a better cast. I think the leads are wrong for it, but other than that, it's an interesting movie. So I guess I could toss that out there as an honorable mention.
With one of Fulci's best scores, as far as I'm
concerned.
Score. Yeah,
great score by Fritzy. Yeah, it's a great score.
It's a great movie all around.
It's pretty solid. Nathaniel?
Yeah, I like Man and Baby a lot too. Actually, that one tends to get neglected. I just had two that have not been mentioned of those, but these are ones that also came close to my list. But I really love The Sender, which is extremely underrated. I think a really strong psychological horror film. Again, with just some amazing imagery in it. But I love
Yeah,
that one
man.
a lot. And also another made-for-TV horror film that I really, really adore. It's called Hotline with Linda Carter, which is one of my very favorite TV slasher films. A really great one.
Bruce?
Yeah, so I got three, one of which I'm actually shocked was not on Art's list. I thought for sure, like if you had asked me beforehand, what are the 10 movies on Art's list, I definitely would have included this. So I was surprised to see that Slumber Party Massacre wasn't at least mentioned by Art. Really strong slasher movie from the year, a movie that plays both as a slasher movie, or you could read it as a parody of slasher movies. It works equally as well either way. Really solid film. Um, Two others that I would have loved to have included, but you just can't. Raw Force, I think, is an absolute blast. It is such a silly, wild, incredible movie. I saw it young and have loved it ever since. Eventually saw it in theaters again with a packed crowd, and everybody went nuts the whole time. And then from the Corman School, we have Forbidden World, really trashy, sleazy, sort of alien movie. With just some wild gore, absolutely ridiculous premises. Yeah, just a really fun one. So yeah, none of those I quite loved as much as the 10 I put on my list. But yeah, they're all also worth your time.
Art?
Really, the only one that remains, and you're right, Bruce. I do adore the Slumber Party Massacre. Um, the one that really pained me, besides Living Dead Girl, to not put on my list was The Beast Within. Paul Clemens was a guest at Cinema Wasteland recently, and I rewatched The Beast Within. He plays the teenage lead, and just the plot description alone. Like, imagine sitting down with just like your average Joe and explaining the plot of The Beast Within. So, a woman's raped by a cicada, and however many years, 18 years later, the next cycle of cicadas come back, and this kid is kind of a cicada, and like, because he's the rape baby cicada kid, and it like what like talk about high concept, right? That one
Based
is
on a true story.
based on a true story, based on a true story, and
That's
and,
basically the majority of the American South.
I mean, like, what a concept, and it plays out really well. Cool gore scenes. It's just an interesting movie, but for whatever reason, it's just never quite been a personal favorite in the way that, Amityville 2 or Q or Pieces has been. But I think Beast Within is another movie that just like gets lost in the shuffle and should be better known than it is. It's not like the most obscure movie of all time, certainly, and it's available, and but it's a movie that more people should be talking about.
Yeah, I really like the parallels that it has between like the 17-year cicada cycle and puberty. The puberty of this teenage boy.
Yeah, it's a coming of age, right?
Right.
It's also 50s style. It's basically I was a teenage werewolf for Frankenstein, but done in the 80s again. And it's also got character actor heaven from R.G.
Right.
Armstrong to L.Q. Jones is in that one too, I think. Yeah, just a lot of Peckinpah Stock Company, and you put those guys in a movie, and I'm drooling.
Right.
My honorable mentions, I can't believe we got through the honorable mentions and no one's mentioned this one, is fucking Human Lanterns. That was the one that hurt me the most not to put it on the list because I love how it's Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Shaw Brothers style with the pitting the guys against each other. It's got the best line at the end, and the guy's like, "Well, why did you involve me? I had nothing to do with this." And he's like, "Well, I need it." And he's like, "Cause fuck you." Basically, the killer says, "Cause I used you to get to him." And he's just like that whole thing. Like I love that movie, and it's so stylish, and the big fight scenes at the end, and the under cave thing. It's so cool. It's one of their best.
There's another Shaw Brothers movie from the same year that's really underrated. Probably
Curse
because
of
it's
Evil.
Hell Has No
Hell
Boundary.
Has No Boundary. All three of them
Yeah.
are fucking fantastic. They're all top 25ers for me, I'm sure.
Yeah, so that's
for
a
sure.
really, really cool movie that, unfortunately nobody knows.
Yeah.
But,
And
yeah.
I also had...
Well, why would you watch that when you can rewatch John Carpenter's The Thing?
Because people only watch what's put in front of them, unfortunately. A lot of people. Not all of it. I like The Hunt. You gotta hunt, But Poltergeist Pieces, of course. But there's another one. the Turkey Shoot. It's more of an exploitation movie, but it just is incredibly violent and wild and precursor to Running Man or just kind of a rollerball style thing, Totalitarian Society. Love that kind of stuff here. Brian Trenchard Smith, probably my favorite of his. And kind of a more of a thriller in the vein is Brimstone and Treacle. I think is so fantastically acted that it's impossible not to love that movie. Demhell Elliott and what's her name? Plowflight? I can't think of her name.
Joan Plowright.
Joan Plowright.
Yeah, she's in Drowning by Numbers as well. She's a great actress. And Sting, of course, holding his weight with those big classic British actors. Just a great movie, man. Fantastic. All three of those, I just wanted to throw a mention out. And I guess I'll get to the statistics here. I'll be quick with them. There's 23 different titles. I did the crunch numbers. So basically, if it's your number one, it gets 10 points. So we break it down to number 10 gets 1 point, and that's how we rank them. So I'm going to go in order. I know I'm not going to do the countdown. So the top 10 by points. So first and foremost, when I did the list all together, so I have a 10 from all of us accumulated. So me and Nathaniel had 8 that ended up being in the group top 10. So we basically had, the most, I guess, generic list. Bruce had 6, Troy had 7, and Art had 5. So the number 1 that made all 5 lists is Tenebrae with 40 points. Number 2 is The Thing with 39 points, made 4 lists. Number 3 made 29 points. Basket Case made 4 lists. That was 3. That's 4. New York Ripper, 28 points, 4 lists. Number 5 is Creepshow, 26 points, made 4 lists. Number 6 is Pieces with 18 points, made 3 lists. Number 7 is Halloween 3, made 4 lists, so it made more lists than that. But and then we have 8 with 11 points, Alone in the Dark, made 2 lists. We have 9, Amityville 2, made 2 lists with 10 points. And number 10 with 9 points is Living Dead Girl, which made 2 lists. We dropped down 11, Cue the Winged Serpent, 12, Don't Go to Sleep, 13, Der Fan. Then we have Visiting Hours, Nightbeast, Last Horror Film, Friday the 13th, Part 3, Poltergeist, Trick or Treats, Bloodlink, The Appointment, Midnight, and Boarding House. And if we go by list, it's it's relatively the same with a couple switches. I don't see the point to do that. But so this is kind of fun, just do the comparative of list. Art and Bruce had 3 of the same titles, so we can see who had the most list titles here. With Basket Case, Tenebrae, Pieces. Art and Nathaniel, 4 of the same titles. Basket Case, Tenebrae, Pieces, New York Ripper. Art and Troy had 3 of the same titles. Tenebrae, New York Ripper, Amityville 2. Art and Dave had 4 of the same titles. Tenebrae, New York Ripper, Basket Case, Q. Bruce and Nathaniel had 7 of the same titles. Thing, Tenebrae, Basket Case, Pieces, Don't Go to Sleep, Creepshow, Halloween 3. Bruce and Troy had 4 of the same titles. Thing, Tenebrae, Creepshow, Halloween 3. Bruce and Dave had 5 of the same titles. Thing, Tenebrae, Creepshow, Halloween 3, Basket Case. Troy and Nathaniel had 5 of the same titles. Tenebrae, Thing, Creepshow 3, New York Ripper. Troy and Dave had 6. Tenebrae, Thing, Creepshow, Halloween 3, New York Ripper, Living Dead Girl. Nathaniel and Dave had 8 of the same titles. The Thing, Tenebrae, Creepshow, Halloween 3, New York Ripper, Basket Case, Alone in the Dark, and Friday, Part 3. Now, when we look at the most unique list, we have Art having the most unique list with 4 unique titles. No one else had them on their list. And then we have Bruce had 3 unique titles. No one else had them on their list. Troy had 3 unique titles. No one else had them on their list. And me and Nathaniel had 0 unique titles on our list. Every single one of our movies was on somebody else's list. So that's kind of just the breakdown. I don't think there's anything else that should be covered. No, I think that's everything. So
Perfect.
yeah, and I do have the list. Like if you look at it, like what movie didn't like Art didn't have the Thing on there, and then like that kind of thing like that. But Tenebrae is the only one that
I think at this point we're aware Art did not have the Thing on his list.
He did not have the Thing.
Doesn't like it.
No, I don't. Something about not having any male bonding or something just left him a little empty. He just was wondering who was the Thing at the end. He just was like, this is just too stupid. It's this big question mark.
A little more human warmth.
Right. So technically, this is actually Art's sort of meta approach to the Thing by not bonding with the rest of us males.
Yes,
I think is how that
right.
works.
He also just didn't like Wilford Brimley not having a mustache. He's just not right.
But where does Ava Robbins fit into it all?
How do you know?
Well, we've already found that out.
All right. Is there anything anybody wants to plug or say before we get out of here?
Your channel, Dave. Like you're doing a lot of work here, and it is not going unnoticed. Okay.
I appreciate it.
These videos are a lot of work, and We appreciate you. You guys are all doing great work with DVD, Blu-ray commentaries, writing. Um, this is the creme de la creme, cream of the crop here, and it's a pleasure to associate with you all.
Thank you,
Ditto.
Art. Ditto. Yeah, I appreciate you guys doing this. I honestly do. And I did ask Michelle to be on the top 10 show as well because she did so many of them, but she was taking a hiatus from doing podcasts, which I can understand completely.
Right. Well, yeah, I kind of feel like you might be due a slight break as well after cranking out, was this episode number 27 of 1982? Like, that's a lot.
There's a lot of them.
1983 starts tomorrow. Is that right?
Right.
No, 2025. I'm gonna watch those and catch up. I want to actually edit this long giant video, and I'm making more work for myself writing the damn essay than I should be. But I appreciate it. I mean, you guys had a great list. 20. Oh, I should mention 23 different movies out of 50 possible titles. So I mean, after the movies have been around for 40 years, it's kind of the cream of the crop kind of rises, and then every once in a while we'll just have an oddball title because we're all a little crazy.
Right.
I'm more than others.
Thanks for having us. I definitely appreciate all you do.
All right.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you guys being on here. I really do. And I do. See you guys.
See you.
See you.
Coming round to midnight, you're all alone and it's midnight again. You're on your own, you're all alone, you can't go home anymore. You're on your own, you're all alone, and midnight's at your door.
What am I staring at, Art?
His hair.
Oh.
You're on your
Fantastic.